Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, welcome to a late night stream, otherwise known as Nitwits. And, Nitwits is a show that I do anytime I'm feeling a little bitchy, anytime I'm feeling a little sassy, or anytime I want to watch like a piece of content on the internet that it doesn't really fit into anything else that I do. And maybe I want to be a little snarky when I'm watching it. And so then I come on Nitwits and I think, if I'm going to spend time, I don't really watch content on YouTube. I really don't. So I truly have no idea what's going on. But every once in a while, my community will send me things. There's like, Carlin, can you watch this? Can you watch that? Can you watch that other thing? And most of them I'm like, I don't really know about that. But like sometimes I actually do want to take the time to watch it. And I kind of figure if I'm going to watch it, I may as well watch it with friends live on the internet and we can talk about it. And maybe I should have called this Nick Wits. Maybe I should have, because tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are watching Nick Fuentes and the Fresh and Fit podcast, which I have no concept for the Fresh and Fit podcast, except that a lot of my community, so there was a time when my community was like, Carlin, can you watch the Fresh and Fit podcast? And I was like, what's that? And then they said, Carlin, don't you dare watch that fucking podcast. I was like, all right, I don't have to watch it. But you guys know that Nick Fuentes is Nick Fuentes is a little bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. He is, because Nick Fuentes says some of the most crazy shit I've ever heard in my life. It's like, I cover all aspects of the culture war. I do deep dives into the far left, but I would be remiss if I wasn't also covering the far right. And Nick Fuentes is certainly a leader on the far right. Rottweiler said, Wasn't Nick Fuentes really triggered when someone sent a super chat asking if he was really trying to save the white race when it was just going to have white babies? And he said, yeah, I mean, that sounds like something he would do, isn't it? It does. So, there are times, and I don't like to admit this publicly because I do it. I sometimes do it on my own time. If I'm like working or something, there are times when I'll have like Nick Fuentes's cozy live stream on in the background, just because I want to monitor the crazy and kind of like see what's going on. But because this is two things that people have asked me to watch: A, Nick Fuentes; B, the Fresh and Fit podcast, which I truly have no conception for what this podcast is like, other than my community said, Carlin, it's a horrible podcast, don't watch it. I was like, all right, I promise I won't watch it. So if you have never been to a Nitwits stream before, if you are expecting serious cultural commentary, you're not going to get it on this stream. I promise you. This is a stream where I let my hair down. I may start internet fights. It wouldn't surprise me if Nick Fuentes' Groiper audience made their way in here at some point, because anytime we watch Nick Fuentes on this channel, the Groipers eventually, once they figure out that I'm streaming about their hero, Lord, and Savior, Nick Fuentes, they come calling and they wait the 5 minutes to subscribe, and then they come in and they start saying all sorts of crazy anti-Semitic shit in the chat. And it is actually just like a beautiful demonstration of who Nick Fuentes' audience actually is. Now, I don't know if Nick is doing a stream tonight or something. I didn't check. So maybe we'll see them. Maybe we won't. We'll have to see. Sometimes it takes them a little while to figure out that I'm doing this and I didn't announce it or anything. But sometimes we are blessed with that gift, and then we get to yell at Nick Fuentes' audience and fight with them, and that's all really fun. But I guess what I'm saying is that if you are like one of those people that's like, Carlin, I can't believe you are engaging in internet drama. How dare you? I thought you were a deeply serious person. I'm just going to request that you exercise some adult responsibility and you watch something else. If you don't want to watch me being a little bit of a bitch on the internet and engaging in drama and saying bitchy things, you don't have to. I won't be offended. We just did Socialism Saturday earlier. If you missed Socialism Saturday, go back and watch that. You can watch Happy Hour from Friday. You can watch, there are any number of other streams or content that I have done that you can avail yourself of that is serious content in which I'm not being a bitch on the internet. But there's a time and a place for everything, and I like to blow off steam too. And this type of thing is how I keep up to date on what other people are saying, so I know what's going on, all right? So I don't want to hear any whining. I don't want to hear any complaining. If you don't want to watch it, just don't watch. It's really that simple, guys. It's really that simple. But before we get into that, can I take a point of personal privilege before we dig into the Nick Fuentes Fresh and Fit podcast? I would like to be a bitch about something else on the internet. So, and Professor Tem says, I'm always a bitch on the internet. Excellent. I mean, listen, if you can't be a bitch on the internet, where can you be a bitch? I mean, really. So I'm going to take a point of personal privilege before we get into this here stream. I want to talk about something that happened on Twitter earlier. So, as you guys know, I have this horde of unhinged lunatics that stalks me every day on Twitter. They talk about me all day, every day. And this has been going on for years. They have tried their level best to destroy my business. They have tried to destroy my community. And every time they try to destroy me, they just keep losing and losing and losing and losing and losing. And let me tell you what, these people are really, really pissed about my Substack. My Substack, if you don't know, my primary Substack, of course, I do have 17 different Substacks, at least 17 different Substacks. But my primary Substack is Carlin, Karlyn.substack.com. This is the place where I break down the woke ideology into plain English, into the simplest possible terms that I can explain it. I really think I'm breaking it down in the most simple way of anyone on the internet. If you have found someone that breaks down the woke ideology better than me, please tell me, because I want to learn from them, and I genuinely mean that. If other people are doing better than me, I want to know about it, and I want to thank them, because I think the more people doing this, the better. I don't believe in competition. I believe that there are teachers for everyone. And so, I want to see what other people are doing too. Anyway, though, on my Substack, I break down the woke ideology in plain English. I have a series called Woke 101, in which I give you all the basics that they don't teach you when you enter the culture war. So if you're just waking up and starting to red pill and you're like, why are all these people using this crazy language? I got information for that. I got a series called The Woke Mind, in which I break down the psychology of the woke left. I do deep dives into the woke left. I show you the most dystopian content that anyone is going to show you on the internet, and I break it down and I show you the receipts for everything. I provide commentary on what's going on in the world so that you can understand why these crazy things are happening in the world and make some sense of it. And I give you tools and resources to fight back and to explain it to other people. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's written articles, there's podcasts, there's all sorts of stuff going on my Substack. And this is just one Substack that I have. I have a whole bunch of other ones, but this is the main one. Now, the reason I say this is not just to shill for my Substack, because it is my primary content platform on the internet. YouTube isn't, Twitter isn't. It is actually Substack at the moment. The reason I say this is not just to get you to look at my Substack and to sign up and subscribe and all that. The reason I say this is, before we get into the Nick Fuentes Fresh and Fit podcast, there has been some, whining about my Substack going on Twitter, in that the woke knitting horde, who has been obsessively trying to destroy my business for years and years and years, is just, a little miffed that my Substack is growing exponentially and has been growing for a while. And I have a goal that I want to get it to by the end of the year, and we are absolutely on track for that goal. I'm very proud of that. I really appreciate all the support. I've worked very hard to get it this way. And the thing of it is that Carrie Smith's woke knitting horde continues to run around the internet saying, Carolyn has no engagement. No one likes her. Everyone hates her. Her audience is getting smaller all the time. No one likes her. No one supports her. Well, they did it again today. And, most of the time I just let this go, because losers on the internet are going to be losers on the internet. And what can you really do? But sometimes I'm just really amused by it. And I like kind of like reeing them up a little bit, because God, can they re. And so I posted on Twitter that, I have this crazy idea that people paying me money for my content is actually more important than Twitter likes, and how glorious that my Substack actually met a new milestone yesterday, because it did. It did. And I'm really happy about that. And thank you to all the people who signed up yesterday. I really do appreciate it. And so I posted this graph, which is when I started getting serious about Substack at the end of last year. This is the graph of my paid subscriber growth since then. The green are people who have signed up for a paying subscription. This little tiny little thin purple line are people that I have comped of subscription, either because they're like sharing my stuff out a lot and they just can't afford it, or for like there's only like 2 or 3 of those. There aren't even that many of those. And then this red one is subscriptions that people have gifted, because people have started gifting subscriptions to other people, which I think is great. So this is like my paid Substack subscriber growth. It's grown really, really quickly. To the point that like Substack actually like reached out to me, and they were like, you're growing really fast. We're going to help you grow faster. And I was like, all right, you can teach me how to do stuff. And so I've actually had meetings with Substack about this, and they've been super, super, super helpful. And it's been great. And I'm really thrilled about this. I love Substack. I think that like there is no other platform for me that makes sense to be able to grow my content moving forward. And I'm thrilled about the success I'm having. And I that's all because of you guys. Well, the reason I bring this up is Carrie's knitting horde is still complaining about this. And they basically on Twitter today were like, I don't know how it's possible that people are still paying for her Substack when her audience is diminishing everywhere. And then they looked at my Patreon, and my Patreon only has like 10 supporters on it or something, which is cool. Like, the reason I keep a Patreon is like you can get different perks on Patreon. It's not really a platform that I push it all. Of course, I do appreciate the supporters I have on Patreon. It's great. I really do appreciate it, but it's not a platform that I really push all that much. Oh, no, 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 no. This is Instablock. No, no, no. Don't bring this shit into my chat. Just because Nick Fuentes does that shit doesn't mean I'm doing it here. All you little groypers are going to have to sit back a second and relax, all right? The adults are talking, okay? Anyway, so they found my Patreon, and they're like, she's only got 10 subscribers on her Patreon. That means that obviously this is all lies and her Substack is not growing and blah, 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 blah. Well, it could also be a reflection of the fact that I don't actually push my Patreon. I don't. I'm giving them a little hint. So they're right now, like, I mean, currently as we speak on Twitter, they're having this whole conversation, and I'm not going to show it to you because I don't want to show you their names, because I don't want them to get like attention that they really shouldn't. I'm actually giving them more attention right now than I should be giving them. Right now, they're desperately trying to figure out exactly how many subscribers I have on Substack, because they are deeply committed to proving that I'm absolutely not successful and that no one supports me and da 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 da. Bro, you're gonna have to sit back and wait, or go look at my other content. I'm not gonna make my stream around someone who just discovered my channel. Just sit back, relax, go grab a drink. We're gonna be here a while. So I wanted to give Carrie Smith's woke knitting horde just a little bit of a hint. Just a hint, because you can actually start to figure out how many subscribers I have on Substack. Because the thing of it is I have what is called a white check mark on Substack. There are 3 levels of verification that you can get on Substack. There is the white check mark, which you see next to my name. There is the orange check mark, which is just like it's filled in with orange and the check mark is more white. And then you have the purple check mark, which is a bright purple check mark. So the only way that you can get a check mark on Substack is through paid subscribers. It automatically shows up when you reach a milestone of paid subscribers. The white check mark means that I have hundreds of paid subscribers on Substack, which is true. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. The minute that I cross over into thousands of subscribers, my check mark will change to a different check mark. Okay. And that's when you know that I have over 1,000 subscribers. That's not going to be that far off. And that was my original goal that I said at the beginning of the year. I was like, I want to have 1,000 Substack subscribers by the end of the year. Well, I'm going to hit that before the end of the year. Like, I'm not that far off from it, which again, I really appreciate. And then when I eventually, many, many moons from now, get to tens of thousands of paid subscribers, then my check mark will turn purple. This is how you can tell how many supporters a person has on Substack. Okay. So for Carrie Smith's woke knitting brigade, the fact that I have a white check mark right now on Substack is proof that I have hundreds of subscribers. And I'm not going to tell you how many hundreds I have, but I will tell you that across all of my platforms, because I know that Carrie's Knitting Brigade is so obsessed with this, across all of the different platforms, I have well over 1,000 people paying to support my work right now. Just because they're not on Patreon don't mean I don't have them, bitches. And you can cry about that all you want. You can have all the meetings about it that you want to try to continue to destroy my work. You can have all of the feelings. You can read about me on Twitter for days. But it's not going to be too long before that check mark turns to bright orange. And then I will have over 1,000 on this specific platform, in addition to all the other subscribers that I have on all the other platforms. And so this is good for me because the more supporters I have, the more funding I get to be able to reinvest back into doing stuff. And I have a list of projects I want to do, and I'm really excited about it, and I really appreciate it. But one last thing is Carrie's Horde is like, they're like, I question how the hell she has such a sharp increase in subscribers when her numbers just continue to drop. Well, the problem is, as I have repeatedly explained to you idiots, do my numbers drop on Twitter? Sure. Yeah, you are correct. My numbers on Twitter have dropped. Do my numbers drop on YouTube? Oh, yeah. People get unsubscribed from my channel every single day, and then every once in a while, I have a video that goes viral, and they go right back up again, and then they slowly drop, and then another video goes viral, they go right back up again. But what you morons don't understand is that I never built my platform on Twitter, you absolute idiots. And most of the people who are paid supporters on my Substack don't even have a Twitter. And you guys can cry about it as much as you want, and it will make absolutely no difference because I built a business successfully that you can't fucking touch because you're all obsessed with Twitter. You don't know anything other than Twitter, but only 2% of my audience on Substack actually comes from Twitter, bitches. There is actually a universe in which people don't spend their entire day being reply guys on Twitter. Exactly. It's almost like Twitter isn't real life. So, for the unhinged lunatics who are inevitably hate watching this stream right now, everyone wave. That is how I have been able to grow my numbers on Substack that quickly and that steeply because I'm providing content to people that no one else on the internet is providing. I am doing it on a deeply consistent basis. I have premium content, I have free content, and wouldn't you know it, the hundreds of thousands of people who read my Substack every single month, yes, hundreds of thousands of people, cry about it all you little bitches want. The hundreds of thousands of people that read my Substack every month, there is a percentage of them that have come out to support my work, and I really, really, really do appreciate it. All right, guys, that is my little point of personal privilege, but that's not why you're all here. You're all here for me to watch the Nick Fuentes Fresh and Fit podcast. No, I would not say that this is a pro Fuentes channel. I would not say that at all. However, here's the thing. I am very deeply aware that Nick Fuentes supporters are going to show up tonight. Here's what I want to say to the Nick Fuentes supporters who might already be watching this here stream. I don't care if you like Nick. I don't care. It makes no difference to me at all. However, I'm going to ask you not to behave like unhinged lunatics in my chat. I do not have an unmoderated chat. And yeah, exactly. We just want Nick to come out of the closet. We think that Nick and possibly everyone else in the world would be much happier if he just came out of the closet, just admitted it. It's going to be okay. People like what they like. You can't control it. And so we definitely have our opinions. I'm pretty sure Nick calls himself an incel. So yeah, I think Nick's an incel because I'm pretty sure he's self-identified as an incel, hasn't he? Anyway, we are going to watch this here podcast, and I'm just going to really beg the Nick Fuentes people, can you please just not behave like unhinged lunatics? I have 2 rules in my chat. I do not have an unmoderated chat. I have 2 rules. Number 1, don't be a dick. Don't insult me. Don't insult other people in the chat. If you don't insult people, no one here is going to insult you. This is a safe space. You can be who you are. It's okay to support Nick. Just don't be a dick to other people here, okay? I don't think I'm asking too much. Number 2, No whining. If I ask you to stop doing something, just stop doing it. We have a nice community here, all right? We don't really care about your politics. We just like watching and knowing what's going on and doing commentary on it. You're allowed to disagree with us. We are allowed to have different opinions, all right? But if I ask you to stop doing something because you're being a disruptive little dick, then please just stop doing it. I don't want to have to block people, but I will because I don't have an unmoderated chat and I want the chat to be nice for everyone, okay? It's not just about you, it's about everyone else. Jenny's getting inky with it. Perhaps if stepmom Deb Philman spent more time looking up sources instead of investigating your follower count, she wouldn't have looked so stupid in that article. Well, I do agree with that. I absolutely agree. In fact, I happen to know that Deb Philman is currently giving away her premium membership. She's giving away like a free year of premium membership to like anyone who signs up for it, which to me tells me that stepmom might be a little bit desperate for people to sign up to her community because she's just giving it away. Deb, I promise you that like people are not going to value your work if you're giving it away for free. And they're especially not going to value your work if you're just behaving like an unhinged reply guy on Twitter all the time. Produce some good content, Deb. Focus on that. I promise people will pay you for it. It's not really that hard. Jenny, thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. No one infiltrate Deb's community. I'm not going to subject anyone to that shit. I also just don't care that much. Deb Philman isn't really relevant, so like whatever. All right, guys, we are going to be watching this. I do want to make sure because this is Nitwits, I do want to show you what I'm knitting really quick because yes, for the people who just found this is going to be a knitting friendly podcast because I am indeed a knitter and I am working on this here shawl. It is the spring cleaning shawl. It's a little bit hard for me to show it to you because I'm in a middle of a row right now, but I want to show you generally speaking what it looks like so you can have some idea of what I'm working on. This is different colors, but this is generally what I'm working on right now, and you're going to be able to see me knitting as the podcast makes its way through. But let's jump right into it. That's enough of a preamble to get some audience in here. Let's get this set up. And we are going to be watching the Rumble stream, which I noticed was is this one of those things where like they do half of their stream on YouTube and then they're trying to grow their Rumble audience so they do the rest of the stream on Rumble? I noticed the Rumble stream was a lot longer than the YouTube stream, so I pulled up the Rumble stream. I don't know like if there's like, like I don't know why that is exactly. I'm sure someone can explain it. Have I ever knitted a bed sheet before? That would be a big project. I don't think knitting would really work for a bed sheet. It'd be very warm. Like a blanket? I mean, I've made really big things. I've never made a blanket before though. That's a lot of knitting right there, bud. Saturday night knitting in the manosphere. What could go wrong? Nothing could go wrong with this plan, Vince. Nothing could go wrong at all. All right, guys, please make sure you are mounting that like button for me. Mounting the like button tells YouTube that you are anticipating enjoying the stream anyway, so that you can comment, so that YouTube can recommend the stream to other people so we can have more friends come and join us. And once again, as we're getting into this, I just want to remind the Nick Fuentes fans that are already here, I don't care that you like Nick Fuentes. We're probably going to make fun of Nick, although if Nick says something smart, we're going to acknowledge that. And to be fair, I think that Nick Fuentes is actually very smart. It's part of what makes him so dangerous. But I just want to make sure people know, like, if you are a Nick Fuentes fan, just because we're making fun of him doesn't mean you have to, right? You can be a Nick Fuentes fan. You can defend Nick's honor in the chat. I don't really care. You can talk about how great Nick is. You can talk about how much Nick has changed your life. You can talk about anything pro Nick that you want, and we will have no problem at all. Where we will start to have a problem is if you start shitposting in my chat and insulting people, okay? So you just need to rein in your inner edgelords, behave like, adults, because I'm going to assume most of you are. And if you aren't dicks, you won't get banned. Okay? That's all. Let's get this party started.
Hi, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh Air Podcast. We got a special guest in the house, Nick fucking Fuentes, baby! Let's get into it!
Let's go.
I've never actually watched the Fresh and Fit podcast before, so I have no idea what I'm getting into, but this really is some manosphere shit, isn't it? Oh, this is going to be... That was something.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh Fit Podcast, man. We got a special guest in the house, Nick Fuentes. Real quick before we get into the show, well, actually, do we got to kill the Twitch and Facebook stream already? Because he's probably bad off those, right?
We probably should. Yeah. Right away.
Right away. Come on over to YouTube, guys. YouTube, type Fresh and Fit or Rumble, rumble.com/freshfit. We're dual streaming this thing on Rumble and YouTube, and we're probably going to have to take the rest of the interview on YouTube. Or Rumble, sorry. Definitely not YouTube. So real quick announcements, guys. Rumble.com/freshfit. I got it there in the banner because today's episode is definitely going to have to go to Rumble, but we're going to start off here on YouTube for y'all and keep it somewhat YouTube.
Is there a way to do captions on Rumble? Does anyone know? Let me know if there is.
Too clean before we go over there, but rumble.com/freshfit. Also check us out on freshfit.locals.com.
If there's not, I'm sorry.
Get all the behind the scenes content, guys. That's safe. Also, Fresh Fit and Fresh and Fit store as well, where you guys get the t-shirts, hoodies, all the merch is there. And then also check out our Clips channel, guys. We've been going pretty hard on the Clips channel, man. We're almost at 40 million views for the month, man. So it's been going really well. So go ahead, check it out, man. Fresh and Fit Clips on there. Trying to get it to 1 million. So go ahead and subscribe to that channel. 80% of y'all that are watching that channel are not subscribed. And also, more Fresh Fit Clips is our other Clips channel. So if you guys don't got time to watch full pod, go ahead and check out the Clips channel. And then check us out on Spotify. We're posting on there every single day. Mo's on top of it. And then also, Fresh, you want to talk about your blog?
Yes, guys. We're going to be in Colombia this month, actually. Super excited. If you want to see our vlogs, lifestyle, go check out the vlog channel. 200 kind of way.
Jesus
Let's go.
Christ.
And then,
you guys have so much shilling that they do at the beginning. I really am starting to feel like I'm under shilling my stuff. Like, I only talk about my Substack, and then I'm like, I have all this other stuff too, but you can sign up or not, like whatever. Just go to like I don't do, like, people sometimes used to complain about how much shilling I did, and I don't even do any shilling compared to these guys.
Network, man. We're going to be there as well. Adding value, giving value. Go check it out.
And then check me out, guys, on Fed Reacts, guys, over there. I break down criminal cases, guys, like true crime. Well, I do it over there. I cover everything from serial killers. The last episode I did, I reviewed New Mech from Ryan Dawson, Nick's best friend, where I covered how a certain state that won't be named stole the nuclear bomb from the United States. So go ahead and check it out over there on Fed Reacts. And also, don't forget to go ahead and get my book.
I have a merch store. It's unwokeart.com. I don't have coffee. I'm not fucking selling coffee, but I've got really cool, like, art designs and, like, AI art stuff in that store. I'm very proud of my merch store. You can still, just because I haven't taken it down yet, but I really should have taken it down, you can still get the golden Trump mug in the merch store, because I will be taking that shit down eventually when I get around to it. But you can check out the merch store.
Deserve less, because they do deserve less. Book's only about 80 pages, can deserve less. Amazon bestseller, go get it. And then also, guys, do me a quick favor. Go check out Nick on cozy.tv/Nick. Link is below. That's his own website, by the way. How did that come about?
Well, I had to invent it because I got banned from everything.
This isn't a bad idea. I might think about
Made my own.
So that's not a bad
Nick,
idea.
I know who you are. Fresh knows who you are. I think our audience is pretty familiar with you as well, and all the grapers out there. But can you introduce yourself to the people who may not know who you are?
Well, I'm Nicholas Shea Fuentes. I'm kind of the most banned man, I think, in the world, or I'm certainly up there.
Yeah.
But I'm a live streamer. I do a show Monday through Friday. It's called America First. I run a nonprofit, and I basically been the leader of the dissident right for like the last 4 years in America.
Absolutely. So, but going back, because obviously, everyone knows, Nick Fuentes now, but I want to get to know Nick from before. Pause. Can you tell us a little bit about like your upbringing and background? You're very religious. I want to kind of see how'd you get there?
Sure. Well, I didn't actually start out super religious. I mean, I was born Catholic. I was baptized Catholic, but I was a pretty normal guy for most of my life. I mean, I went to high school and I was always very political, but I was really more like a mainstream person. Like if you met me when I was 14, 15 years old, I mean, I was as political as I am now, believe it or not. But my views were totally consistent with anything you'd see on Fox News or libertarians, Republicans, that sort of thing. And so it wasn't until I got to college, wasn't until I got to Boston University after the Trump election that I really came into the red pill.
I also went to Boston University, and I loved my time at Boston University. And it really pisses me off that AOC went to BU and Nick Fuentes went to BU. And now BU sucks. It's so woke. Nick Fuentes probably drove BU to be more woke.
A red pill, so to speak. And I reverted back to my religion. Not that I ever went away, but I really became truly a Catholic. and I became a right-wing extremist that I am today. So,
according to Wikipedia, right?
Right.
And you, so you actually found your religion more so when you went to college, went to Boston.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people go to college, they become liberal.
I went there
crazy. I did the opposite.
Yeah.
I became a reactionary.
Was there a moment in time that, like, for example, an event happened that made you say, you know what, let me get closer to God? Or was it more like it just happened?
No, it was a real event. I went to Boston University, and I'd never lived away from home. I never lived outside of Chicago, which is where I grew up. And it was one thing that precipitated it specifically. Maybe you guys don't remember, because this was kind of like, if you weren't paying close attention, you wouldn't have noticed it. But in October 2016, this was when we first heard about Russia and the Russiagate, the Russia stuff. And if you remember, Joe Biden, then the vice president, comes out and does a press conference because Obama was talking about meddling in the election.
Yeah.
And Biden comes out and says, well, we're going to retaliate. And I remember thinking there's a good chance Clinton becomes president and we're in a nuclear war with Russia, kind of like where we are now, which is scary. There were some developments today with these cluster munitions. And so I remember in October 16 thinking like, okay, the world's going to end. Like, it's over. We're done. We're all going to die. And I remember thinking like, there's got to be more. I wake up, I eat my 3 meals, I go to my classes, wake up, rinse, repeat. And I'm thinking, I'm a person that wants meaning in my life. I'm a person that has consciousness. There's got to be more than the routine. There's got to be more than the physical. And so that was the first time I went out to the bookstore there. Maybe you remember, I know you went to school close by. I went to the Barnes & Noble on Commonwealth Ave by the big Citgo sign.
I know exactly where that's at.
I used to live there.
By Kenmore. And I bought a Bible, my first Bible. I read the Bible, and I read some other books, and I watched videos. And, like I said, I was baptized Catholic, but I really started to believe. I really developed this sort of spiritual consciousness. So it was that in particular. I was afraid of Hillary Clinton, basically.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Wow. So because most people go off to college and become way more liberal, they become less religious, they become, oh yeah, let's hug the trees. And especially Boston. I mean, I could speak from experience here. I graduated college in 2013. When you went, it was worse.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget. I went back to Boston back in like 2015. I had a Make America Great hat again, and everyone was harassing me. It was bad. You know what I mean? So it's only gotten worse. And you were there. How long did you stay at BU before you left?
I was there for 2 semesters. I was there from September 16 until May 17.
Well, and what was that like being over there as a conservative, a religious conservative?
Well, it was brutal. I mean, because I was there during the Trump election.
Yeah.
So I got on campus and the election was 2 months later. And I was kind of like famous when I got on the campus, because I wore the MAGA hat everywhere.
Yes.
That was like what I was known for.
Yep.
People were like talking shit about me on Yik Yak. You remember? Maybe that was a little after you were in 2013. So I think it was a little after.
I was gone,
But
I went back a few times, to hang out with old friends because a bunch of my teammates were still in school. So I would go back every.
Okay, I want to make something very clear. Boston University is a huge fucking school. It's huge, and it is segmented into multiple different colleges, and essentially there are a lot of people who never even know who anyone else is. What I mean by that is, like, if you walk down the street at BU, no one fucking cares who you are. Okay? There are so many people. There's so many different colleges. Now, the people within your college might know who you are, but the people within the 14 other colleges have no clue because you either don't go to their building because there's not classes there, or like there's just no need. So for Nick, I guess what I'm trying to say, like, Nick Fuentes is saying he was famous on BU's campus for wearing a MAGA hat. Bullshit. Now, I could maybe wrap my head around that if Nick Fuentes like hung out in the GSU, which is that was what it was called when I was there. I don't know if it's still called that, the George Sherman Union, which is like basically the student union. It's like where like the food court is and like where one of the libraries is. It's like one of the main, like, it's kind of like in the central campus. It's like one of the main gathering places. If Nick Fuentes just like stood around in the main foyer of the GSU, I could kind of understand that maybe like more people might know who he is because he's purposefully trying to piss people off. But this idea that Nick Fuentes just walked around with a MAGA hat and everyone knew who he was and it's a big scandal, that is fucking narcissistic delusions of grandeur, Nick. I'm sorry. That's not the way it works.
Now and then, but sorry, continue.
Sure. So people are talking shit about me on the Facebook group and on the Yik Yak page saying, oh, there's that kid with the MAGA hat on in the dining hall. And people would come up and literally attack me. Like people would come up. I remember I was in the line to get like pizza at the dining hall, and this black chick comes up in the hijab and everything, and she rolls up and she's like,
share it. Yeah, this is him back the America Great, the MAGA hat and everything else like that.
That was a little later. That was like 2020. But yeah, I mean, that's me in a MAGA hat. You know, and so I'd be in the dining hall, this black chick rolls up and starts berating me. I'm in the line to get food, telling me, you know, you got to justify the Muslim ban and all this. And so I was harassed. There was a lot of death threats, but that was also how I got my start, because within the first 2 months, there was this big firestorm on Twitter because I was pumping out tweets, stuff that was edgy at that time. I was pumping stuff out, you know, feminism sucks, multiculturalism's cancer, pretty like mild, you know, by today's standards. But back then, this was hot stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so I was pushing this stuff out, and I was contacted by this group, Young Americans for Liberty, this like libertarian group. And they said, we want to set up a debate with you and one of your detractors, because it was blowing up on social media. I said, I'm down. This almost didn't even happen. They were looking for somebody. Nobody wanted to do it. The student body president of Boston University stepped up to debate me. I'm like a freshman. I was there for a month. And I'm debating the student body president. So they set it up. We did it in I forget the venue.
Was it a female?
No, it was a guy. Oh, some gay guy.
No, of course.
Yeah,
typical. Of course, it'd be you. Yeah,
he was wearing a beanie. Yeah, I was making fun of him for that.
There's a reason why they say sucks to be you.
Yeah, well, it sucked to be him that night.
so you debate him. To take us through that.
So it was like 300 people showed up. It's like a big deal for because we weren't like e-celebrities or anything. It's like 300 people show up, and I go out there. It's like a week before the election, and I'm like, you know what? Trump is going to win. And I just go off because they're all liberals, all women in the audience. And I pop off. People loved it. There's this girl in the audience named Cassie Dillon.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of her, but at that time she was working for Daily Wire. She's working for Ben Shapiro.
Oh, sure. Here we go.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. So she periscopes the whole thing on Twitter, and it's blowing up. Thousands of people watching. She texts Ben Shapiro because she's working for him at this time. And she says, Ben, I just discovered this guy. I still have the screenshot. She's like, you got to take him under your wing. He's the greatest thing. And so she comes up and interviews me after the debate. And, you know, we do a little post-game recap, whatever. And the last thing she asked me, and, you know, I don't know, I'm not going to say the country, but she says, one last question.
Israel.
Would you ever take a trip to
Israel?
The country?
Motherland.
Israel.
The motherland.
And we'll talk about the tweet, too, that got you viral with him. Because I want the people to know that tweet. We'll talk about that on Rumble, guys. Don't worry. Sorry.
Totally. Yeah. Because that's some good lore. Yeah. So she asked me that, and I tell her, and this is before I'm even fully red pilled. I said, Cassie, I have everything I need right here in America.
Yeah.
You know, I'm America first.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so that was sort of like how I made a splash. I start getting a Twitter following. I get introduced to all these guys at Daily Wire.
Yeah.
That's when I started to run into problems, though, you know, because, and this is sort of, a lot of people don't know this about me. People look at me and they say, oh, he's another David Duke. He's another Richard Spencer. I was going to be the next Shapiro, Will Witt, you know, whatever. Basically being groomed like all these other young college Republicans. I was on that track to be a normie conservative influencer. But it happened to coincide with the Trump election, where Trump was raising some very interesting points. Like when he goes out and says America first, that creates a big problem for the system that we have.
Yeah.
Because the system is basically predicated on foreign influence and corruption. And so when one guy goes up and says America first, suddenly it's a big problem for the people that want Iraq war, Afghanistan war, Syria war, war with Russia, whatever, free trade for that matter, TPP. And so I start asking these questions of all these guys at Daily Wire saying, hey, man.
Do they literally have a giant screen showing them like right in front of them? That's not weird or anything.
What's the deal with the foreign aid? You know, what's the deal with the war? What's the deal with the Security Council vote? You know, at that time, Obama, and I didn't like Obama, but I defended him in December 16. He goes out there and he allowed the United States to abstain on the Security Council vote where they were condemning Israel. Everyone freaked. They said, he's an anti-Semite. He's the worst guy ever. I said, hang on a second. We owe them? You know, we owe them that we have to give them this unconditional diplomatic support no matter what. I wrote this big article about it. I'm pushing tweets. And they basically told me, and here I am still under the impression that it's a free marketplace of ideas. You know, we're the right wings of patriot movement. And they come and tell me, they say, hey, listen, you got to stop asking these questions. Stop talking about this. we'll answer it privately, but you're basically making too much of a fuss about this stuff. You got to drop it. And I said, I'm not going to drop it. Like, this is legit. I mean, you got to give me answers, or you gotta let me ask. And I got a text from Cassie Dillon. I want to say, I don't know, several months into 2017, I'm still at BU. And she says, listen, we are not in the same movement. You keep asking these questions. You are alt-right. You are an anti-Semite. I'm never going to talk to you ever again. She was like,
just for asking the question about foreign aid.
Yeah.
Just for asking about foreign aid. Wow.
Mild stuff. Not even like what I'm on now.
Yeah. Well,
which is more.
We'll talk about that on Rumble.
Right.
Some of your more controversial views. But that's wild, though, that like just off of that alone, very simple stuff like, hey, some foreign aid. What's going on with this? Oh, no, what are you doing? Right. So, wow. So real quick, we talked about Trump. 2016, he gets elected president. Where were you, and what went through your mind? Because I'll tell you this, I was fucking shocked when that happened. I was down in Laredo, Texas, on the Mexican border. I was shocked when that went down. Where were you at, and what was it like?
It was the best day ever. I mean, literally, like one of the best days of my life, without even joking, no exaggeration. I mean, I was there on campus, and I was getting attacked for months.
Of course,
people just literally yelling at me in the street, confronting me.
I really wish I had red pilled before Trump got elected. I really do. First off, because that was an awful fucking night to be a Democrat. I'll tell you what, like, for those who don't know, you might be new to me, whatever. I was a Democrat for 20 years. I didn't red pill until I started red pilling, like mid 2019 ish, but I really red pilled in like early 2020. I left the Democratic Party. I will never go back. They're goddamn psychotic. But like, I very distinctly still remember the night that Trump got elected, and it was awful. It was like we were all prepared that Hillary was going to get elected because that was what the media had told us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I had my champagne and everything, and then the night goes on and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and you have this sense of impending dread. You're like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I think I drank like 2 bottles of champagne that night, not because I was celebrating, but because it was so awful. And then of course I went to bed early, and then I woke up the next day and I was like, oh shit, Donald Trump is the president. And I cried. I was upset. I was so angry. And I really wish that I had red pilled prior to the 2016 election, because I do think that would have been a glorious night. And listen, man, like, not defending Nick Fuentes, but I'm sure that Nick Fuentes did actually get like a resounding amount of shit on BU's campus. And I would, you know what? I like, good for him for taking a little bit of a victory lap. Well, I mean, I never really liked Hillary. I didn't want to vote for Hillary, but if I'm good, like, champagne is actually just one of the drinks that I like. It honestly wasn't even a reflection of like celebratory anything. It was like I was just drinking champagne that at that point is like a drink that I was drinking regularly because I like champagne, all right. But I didn't like Hillary. Like, I really didn't. I was like guilt tripped into voting for Hillary. I was like, it was one of those things where all my friends like surrounded me and pressured me for months. It was like, Carlin, you have to do it. Otherwise you're voting for Trump. And I was like, no, fuck you. Hillary sucks. But I got peer pressured into doing it. So I did it, whatever. But I can imagine for people who were like on Trump's team, that was a really momentous night. And I like watching the underdog get a fuck you. And so even if I don't agree with Nick Fuentes and don't really like Nick Fuentes, you know, good for him for getting his fuck you.
In the dining hall. And so I remember
it's real, dude. I remember when I wore the hat, like, it is real. Like, they will, like, back then, they would attack you in Boston. Physical violence for you being a Trump supporter. It was crazy, dude.
Yeah, no, I think it was actually worse then than it is now.
It's way worse back then. It was way worse because I remember, like, they looked at it like, this is a joke. This guy's the apprentice. He's not going to win. He's a white supremacist. They're saying all kinds of crazy stuff about Trump back then. He hates black people. He hates Arabs. He hates Muslims. He hates everybody. There's no way he's going to make it. So it was like a joke. So if you wore the hat, they kind of like looked at it like, we can attack him because it's a joke, right? Then they kind of like had this veil of like, he's not going to win. But when he actually won, it became real. Right. They all flipped out and they went crazy. And speaking of which, real quick, that debate, you smoked that guy, didn't you?
Which debate?
The one, but you.
The first one. Oh, yeah.
Talking about it.
Totally. It was brutal.
Do you remember, what was the biggest dunk on him that you remember that you?
I wonder if video of that debate still exists somewhere. I'd actually like to watch it, to be honest. Rottweiler, thank you for the super chat. And even then, Trump was a disappointment to people like Fuentes, Spencer, England, Taylor, etc., that were expecting a final solution from him. I mean, well, because Trump isn't an alt-right conservative like neo-Nazi. Like he's just not. Trump is actually like basically a classical liberal. Thank you, Rottweiler. Appreciate it.
I don't remember. I mean, this is so long ago. It was almost 5 years. It's 7.
There had to be like
7 years. Damn.
One standout moment though. Like, where did you? What topic was it you just dunked on him on?
I think there was one part, because at that time they were hitting Trump with all the sex assault allegations. Remember that?
Yeah.
And we never heard from those people ever again,
minus
the civil suit that just happened recently. But back then, he raped 12 women, this and that. And so I remember they asked me about that in the audience question. Mm-hmm. And I basically said, they're liars. Like, I don't believe any women. This is even before Me Too. And the room lit up. Of course. People were leaving like crying because that was like the era, like the triggered SJW.
Yeah.
People freaked out.
To give everyone just perspective, like back then, if you came up with an accusation, they believed you. There was no like false. The false accusations weren't a thing for celebs. Like if someone came at a celeb back then, 100% he did it, right? And now we know, right? This E. Carroll woman, right? She went on fucking CNN and said, "You can rape someone emotionally."
Yeah.
This is the clown world that we're in. So like it was all bullshit. I don't know where any of these women are now that claim this shit.
Did that really happen?
And the only reason that Trump lost that civil suit, by the way, for all you guys out there, is
he didn't
posted on my Instagram. Yeah, he didn't care
at all.
Bro, there's a clip. You know what, Chris? Pull up the clip. Type in Trump deposition tells the lawyer you're not attractive. I'll play that clip real quick for y'all. That's why he basically lost, because he didn't give a fuck. He went to that deposition and didn't care. But sorry, going back. Election night, he wins 2016.
Yeah, so I was, there were very few Trump supporters on the campus. I think it was literally like 4. And like, I knew all of them because we all met at the big Fox News debate viewing party. And anyway, so we were all in my buddy's dorm room. And, I thought he had a good chance of winning. I actually had money on it. I think I bet $1,000 that Trump would win. I put money down in the second debate when he went out there and said, because you'd be in jail. I ran to my laptop. I put like $1,000 on Trump on predicted because I'm like, he just won, but I wasn't sure because you remember how it was. It's like you said, it wasn't real until it happened.
Yeah.
So we were there. We were chilling.
I
We
didn't
didn't even have a
win
TV.
either. I was shocked.
Yeah,
I thought Hillary had it. Like you had all the feminists going crazy. I was like, dude, she's gonna win. This is like no way. But
you and everybody else, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 97% Huffington Post, right?
Yeah.
And so I was there in the apartment and we were watching the New York Times, and you remember they had these dials, and they said she's got a 99% chance winning.
I remember those.
And as the night went
dials.
on, it just went further.
Oh my God, those
and
fucking
we
dials.
just, as the night went on, we were going crazy. We're like, he did it. Like he memed his way into the White House. And so it's nuts.
He did though,
right?
His Instagram is all jokes, like making fun of Biden and making fun of everybody. Ron DeSantis, like, it's hilarious.
Well, the Twitter was nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, back in 2016, I mean, people forget. I always make it a point to say this when I do interviews. It's like Trump today is way more mild compared to 2016. He was going out there and said, like, we're going to ban all the Muslims in the United States. What? Like,
he said, I'll never forget this. He said, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. And I was like, what the fuck? This guy's crazy. Because I was on the Mexican border at the time. And everyone was like, no way it's going to happen. And I was like, fucking like, this nigga's crazy. and when he won, I was like, what the fuck? Like,
well, and you remember he goes up there and he's like, well, my brother built a security apparatus that kept us safe, Jeb Bush. And Trump goes, and you could see like he got charged up. That bothered him because the audience was cheering for Jeb. He goes, the World Trade Center came down under your brother. And they were like, what? Like, he blamed him for 9/11.
That's funny, though. And, that's funny.
Anyway,
Come on.
So we were like, this is just the best thing ever. And we went to all the viewing parties because they were hosting these viewing parties all over the campus. And we went waving the Trump flag with the hats. Fuck you. Trump's your president. 8 years, bitch.
I can imagine all the like white girl family. Just going crazy, bro. Just losing their shit, man. Because, I'm telling y'all, man, Boston is way different, right? Like, I could only imagine what it's like now with like the 99 genders and fucking them being super politically correct over there. Like, it's bad now. It's way worse. So,
yeah. After he won the election, were people still trying to fight you at school after that?
Yeah. Yeah, it got worse. I mean, so me and my buddy, the day after, we went to the Harvard Yard or whatever, the Harvard Common area to troll. You know, we brought the flag, we brought the hats.
Dude, we won.
Literally.
Oh, y'all went to Harvard Square?
Yeah.
Oh God.
The Red Line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
So you know-
God. Oh God.
Big mistake.
Okay, let me paint a picture for you. This area is like huge. Like this is where tourists come, college students. It's huge, and it's a big T stop. Like the T is the train for Boston, right? It goes all through the city. So like that's a huge area. So like, yo, y'all are crazy for that.
I can only imagine Nick and his boy like, fuck you, dude, we won, motherfuckers.
They all have like the Patriot hats on and shit.
Oh yeah, we had the MAGA hat, the flags, the whole thing. You know.
Yeah, you want your ass beat. You want your ass beat, bro.
Niggas turned that shit to the Boston Tea Party. It's back. It's back. All right, sorry.
We almost got our asses kicked.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
we
yeah.
took the red line to get over there.
Yeah.
And somebody ran by and snatched my buddy's hat. People were heckling us. We jump on the T, and a bunch of homeless guys come up, and they're like, hey, you know, we're going to beat the fuck out of you at the next stop. And we're like, we got to get out of here. We jump off the train, not even at our stop, out of the frying pan into the fire. There's like a whole gang of black guys there. They're like, yo.
Did y'all get off at like Roxbury?
I don't remember.
No.
Yeah, so
Okay.
many years
We would've
ago,
gotten
but it
off
wasn't
of
our stop. You know,
Roxbury.
so we're like, we just got to get out of here. This
Off
guy's
of
like got a
Roxbury.
fucking
That-
glass
no.
bottle. So we jump off the thing, and this group of black kids, they start, yo, fuck that hat, bro. Yo, fuck me. And they start losing their minds.
Everyone's pissed.
Oh,
after.
yeah. Yeah, rage. You know, so we just booked it. We just got out of
niggas,
Dodge.
man.
Yeah,
My
Yeah.
niggas out there.
Yo, that's crazy. Like
That's my boys,
they
man.
went out there, they just like said, you know what? Fuck it, we won it. We gonna rub it in
Listen.
the salt. We put the salt in the wounds, baby.
My boy said red flag.
Yeah.
Coming at your ass. Them niggas, man.
Yo,
It's
man.
a wrong neighborhood.
Yo, shit. Okay.
Ready?
So speaking of which, so Trump wins, right? Y'all go on the trolling thing. Real quick, I got the video here. You guys want to know why Trump won that? Because just to bring it back, long story short, this woman came out, accused Trump of raping her back in like '96 or some bullshit like that.
This is
E.
the
Carroll
one
lady.
from Rumble.
She's an
Yes,
author.
We're on Rumble.
Writes a book about her life, and then most importantly, writes about her getting raped by Trump. So this, I don't know if y'all know this. So this is what happened with the story. She releases an excerpt from the book to a newspaper, and it goes crazy, right? Like that's the first time the
I
allegation.
just want to say I'm not really responding to anything because they haven't said anything interesting yet. I really hope they start to say some interesting things soon. Maybe I'm even going to speed it up a little bit because like they're just not saying anything interesting. And this is a long stream and I want to get to the good stuff.
Made out publicly, etc. It goes crazy. So she says, "Okay, I'm going to put this in my book and I'm going to go on a tour." Then she launches a civil lawsuit. So it's like, bro, you're going to launch a lawsuit. You're going to put the excerpt out from your book of one of the most traumatic times in your life to sell a book, and you're telling me that it's not on some bullshit? Like, come on, man. So right here, guys. So this is a deposition, right? Because it's a civil case, so Trump cannot assert the
We're
Fifth
gonna
Amendment
see
privilege.
Trump
of
on
staying silent. He
1.5
has to answer
speed.
the question. So he's there. They're asking him questions. This part is hilarious. Just hit play.
When you said in that video that Ms. Leeds would not be your first choice, you were referring to her physical looks, correct?
Just the overall. I look at her, I see her, I hear what she says. Whatever. You wouldn't be a choice of mine either, to be honest with you. I hope you're not insulted. I would not, under any circumstances, have any interest in you. I'm honest when I say it. I would not have any interest in.
The video.
Bro. Just so you know, that's a lawyer asking these questions. He's basically saying, I would have smashed her and I would have smashed you either. Like, what the fuck? And I think just the fact that he didn't care, his lawyer didn't really, he didn't give a fuck about the deposition. That's why he lost. Because just so you guys know, civil cases is a preponderance of the evidence. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily guilty or whatever. They just have to prove that you're culpable to a degree. 51% versus 49%. So he didn't give a shit. It was October 19th of 2022. Brad some bitches, he was fucking didn't give a shit about that deposition. He knew it was bullshit.
It's a joke, man.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? 2024 election. Who are you gonna vote for? Who do you think the best candidate is? Who do you think sucks? Just give us your take.
Well, I haven't endorsed anybody yet. I mean,
actually, hang on. I'm gonna turn this back down to 1 speed. Sorry, it's just like too fast for me. I can't do it.
24 team for a minute.
We're gonna talk about that too.
Yeah, and at
It's
the
not
same
all that-
time, I
all that
also wasn't in
got
love with
fired.
Trump's announcement speech. I was actually very critical of the Trump announcement. Zerka gave me a real hard time about that. He announced back in
He's
November.
Canadian. Who cares what he thinks?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't even vote.
Focus on Trudeau.
Yeah. Well, so I didn't like the announcement. I told him as much. I mean, we
I
had
didn't like
dinner
the
at Mar-a-Lago.
announcement
I
either.
said, like,
I
hey,
didn't like
man,
it
I mean,
either.
bring the heat? Like,
Yeah.
we want the old Trump back. And anyway, I think I'll most likely support him. I think he's by far and away the best candidate. I don't like anybody else. I mean, if it's not him, I'm not going to vote. I'm not obviously going to vote for Joe Biden. I'm not going to vote for Ron DeSantis. The reason I won't vote for DeSantis, I mean, maybe we'll get more into it on
why
Rumble.
not?
Well, I mean, this guy, every criticism that I have about Trump, it's like 10 times with DeSantis. Because, you know, I knew guys in the Trump administration. I knew a lot of guys who worked in the Trump administration. And the big gripe that everybody had was that Trump gets in, and who staffs the White House? It's the RNC. The RNC that fought him throughout the nomination process, throughout the primary, even the general. I mean, we could get into it, but they were the ones that hired everybody, the 4,000 or 5,000 people that fill up the Trump admin. They picked them. So all the worst people in the world. And there was this running gag. All the true believers that were there from the beginning, stood by Trump through the Muslim ban stuff, everything else. The joke was, if you worked on the Trump campaign, it would actually count against you getting a job in the White House, because they were hiring like the worst people ever. And anyway, so that was one of the big problems, is Trump hiring. Trump's going to hire all the wrong people. The other thing is that they said that Trump was insufficiently America first. He wound up doing all these deals for that country over there, recognize their sovereignty over Golan Heights, move the embassy, called the IRGC terrorists. He's doing backdoor regime change in Iran, all these kinds of things. And anyway, both of those things that you could say about Trump are doubly true of DeSantis. I mean, if anything, the lobby
DeSantis
that we criticize Trump for being so in bed with, they back DeSantis way more. And the same thing is true of the hiring. If Trump made those mistakes back then, I think he's less likely to make them this time around. DeSantis, I know the people that are going to be staffing the DeSantis White House. I mean, I literally personally know them. They're worse than the Trump people. So, I mean, that in addition to the fact that, what country did he visit before his announcement? 1 month before his announcement, he flies out there, talks to all the top donors, basically got their blessing. And you could go into it. I mean, he was a congressman. He was a governor. The only foreign trips he took as a congressman and as a governor, but all the same country.
Can I argue that maybe he's just playing a part to, you know, become president, maybe?
I mean, that's certainly possible. I think Trump did the same thing.
But you know what? Why I like him because whatever he says, he does. But for the most part, if someone's going to be in office, well, if they say they're going to do something, they should do it.
He did a good job in Florida.
Yeah, that's what I
can do.
Florida was, even during those bear bug times, it was open.
Yeah,
thanks to him.
Compared to other states.
I mean, I like him, man. I like him, but
I understand what you're saying, because you're right. I mean, he is a good governor. He says a lot of the right things. The thing is about Trump is that Trump is truly an outsider. Like, he really is fundamentally different than the rest of them. DeSantis,
agreed.
I apply more scrutiny because he's a true politician. And to your point, I look at the people that are backing him. And the people that are backing him who flipped from Trump to him, like, for example, Ken Griffin from Citadel. Ken Griffin's one of the big GOP donors, big Wall Street guy. He kind of leads that Wall Street donor block. He flipped his support from Trump to DeSantis, and his reasoning, he said that, well, DeSantis isn't going to rock the boat. DeSantis is going to make sure that we get our so-called, you know, prosperity, cut the taxes. It's not going to rock the boat, not going to do the culture war stuff.
Yeah.
And that signals to me that DeSantis is just another one of these establishment guys who's going to
lie. What's up?
I fucked that up.
Allegation.
Sound
really
weird or whatever.
Hang on.
If everything else will go on, basically.
There we go.
Everything
That's
else.
basically where it was. Okay. So my opinion on Ron DeSantis, I've been saying for fucking weeks that Ron DeSantis is who the establishment wants to win. And that should make everyone nervous. Not just that Ron DeSantis has, like, I mean, his campaign is just garbage. I'm sorry. He really does have the worst people in the world working for him. He's also doing some weird bot farming thing on Twitter, I'm pretty sure, that is also the worst people in the world. And it's just like, the people that you get responding to when you say anything against DeSantis are just, I mean, they're other, no offense, Groypers. The people responding when you say something against Ron DeSantis are worse than Nick Fuentes' fans. They are much worse than the Groypers. Like, I can at least get the Groypers when they're in my chat to kind of behave themselves and relax. Like, they can be reasonable if you're reasonable with them. These Ron DeSantis assholes are not reasonable. It is really that toxic. And so, like, I don't even know what to say about Ron DeSantis. I've never seen, I mean, it's like an implosion, like, because DeSantis used to be okay. Like, I mean, it was good to see him push back during COVID and stuff like that. And I like some of the stuff he's done with the woke stuff. I also think he's really crossed the line when it comes to that too. I mean, I think that he crossed the line with using the power of the state to punish a private company for speech critical of the government. And whether or not you like Disney, it doesn't really matter. That is a First Amendment violation, mother effers. Like, it's just the way it goes. And so that makes me really nervous. And there's just something off about Ron DeSantis. And I can't put my finger on it. I don't know exactly what it is, but I do not trust him in any way. I do not trust him. I do not trust what he would do in the White House. I don't think that he is really on our team. I think he's on team I want to be president. And even more than that, I think his wife is on team I want to be first lady. Like, that's, I think, all that really matters. And I agree with what Nick Fuentes is saying. I don't think Ron DeSantis would rock the boat at all. And no, yep, wife running the campaign. Exactly. So look, Groypers, we can have some agreement, right? This is going great so far.
Will go on basically unaffected. So fundamentally, I just don't believe him. I think he's going to be totally bought and paid for by Wall Street, by these foreign countries. And, he has a luxury of being conservative in a state like Florida. I don't think he's going to have that luxury in the general election or in the White House.
Okay. Fair enough. What are your thoughts on the new Trump charges, the new federal charges that just came against him?
Well, it's bad. And, the thing is, I talked about this a lot on my show, and I look at these guys.
You talked about it a lot.
Yeah. We talked about it on that stream with Sneeko and Zerka. The thing is, if you look at the letter of the law, if you look at the statute, I think he's guilty. And I've said that. The issue with it is not, well, he's innocent or not guilty. The issue is that it's abuse of their discretionary power.
Yeah.
The question is, should a prosecutor go after a former president for a clerical issue, for classified documents? It's kind of BS.
Yeah.
That being said, he violated the statute. Like, you read the statute, you read the complaint against him, it's all right there.
Yeah.
So I think he's in serious trouble. And I think, and we talked about it just before the show, I think his best bet is drag it out as long as possible, pardon himself when he becomes the president.
Yeah. And that's the only the other big thing I like about DeSantis is that if he gets elected and Trump loses, I know he's going to pardon Trump.
Yeah.
So, and just to summarize it for some of you guys that might
so can you imagine the reeing and the crying that would take place if Trump? Okay, I now want Trump to win the presidency. I was ambivalent about it before. I didn't really care all that much, to be honest. I wasn't planning on voting for Trump, but if a benefit of voting for Donald Trump is that he would pardon himself for all crimes he committed while in office, and we would get to witness the glorious, 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 glorious meltdown that would occur as a result of that, then I now want Trump to win. I really do. Now I want Trump to win. So
might not be aware of the federal case. The New York case I'm not worried about. That's bullshit. It's basically they're hitting them with falsifying business records. It's a BS charge. But the federal one, the reason why I'm worried is because I've done, the 18 U.S.C. 793E charge before. It's an espionage charge. There's two things that I'm worried about. Number one, documents don't necessarily have to be classified to get hit with that charge. If it's national defense information, they can hit him with it, which he had that, right? Which is basically information that comes from the military. Number two, the indictment, if you guys read it, basically there's a lot of cooperators and informants in it, right? When one of them, they have a sound excerpt, he tells the lady in it, oh, this is secret stuff. Probably shouldn't be showing you this. I could have classified it when I was president, but I didn't. That immediately defeats the defense that he was going to use, which is, I was president, I could have declassified this stuff. And let's say he did declassify the stuff. It doesn't matter. National defense information doesn't have to be classified. You can get hit with the espionage charge for just having it. So my thing is, they obviously indicted him knowing that they're going to win, and they have 37 counts on him for it. And then there's another 13 that they didn't even charge him with because it's so classified that they didn't even want to have to, declassify so that it can be used in evidence. So they're going at him like this because they know that they can get him. Should they have charged him? No. But of course, the FBI, right, had a fucking hard on for him or whatever. So it is what it is.
Is a great fucking idea. Philip, can I steal that? Would you mind? Because I will make a fucking Tumblr that says all tears are tasty. I'll do that tonight. I will do that while we are on this stream, and I'm not even joking about it. I'll get some great font. It's going to be awesome. That is a wonderful idea, but I won't steal it unless you... Yay! I have permission to steal it! Excellent. The all tears are tasty Tumblr is coming soon, guys, and don't think I'm not serious about this. I'm going to do it on the stream. Thank you, Philip. Appreciate it.
And my other concern, too, is that if you guys read the indictment, the lawyer, they say that they have lawyer notes memorialized. Why is this a problem? Well, a lawyer and his relationship with his client is considered privilege. You can't use that information. So if I go to let's say Nick is my lawyer, and I rob the bank, and I say, I robbed that bank, man, we got it, yeah. That's privilege. It can't go to the feds. But if I get involved in the crime, right, as his lawyer,
Oh, don't
now
worry, Vince.
that privilege
They'll
is
be
gone.
assured.
So what ended up happening, guys,
Absolutely.
is that the lawyer, right, moved some
Hang
documents
on.
out of the boxes for Trump.
I want to be very clear about my position on this. I'm not saying I want Trump to win. I don't effing care who wins. I don't think it makes a difference. But if we have to live in this world anyway, then why not experience the most possible media meltdown that we can, because it's funny and amusing and helps pass time, all right? And I think we can all agree that Trump winning again, and especially if Trump pardoned himself for all of this bullshit, it would be just like I would clear my schedule. I would do nothing but stream MSNBC like all day for weeks over that. It would be so beautiful and so glorious. We would cover every press conference. If Trump can just get like we would cover every press conference. every Chris Hayes meltdown, every Joy Reid episode. It would be awesome. Come on.
Went to the FBI with those documents saying, here we go. The FBI made him sign a letter. Are these all the documents? Yes, it is. Unbeknown to him, Trump's aide, Natua, right, moved some of those documents. So the FBI gets the documents from the lawyers. They're like, wait, there's 100 missing. What the fuck? That's why they did the search warrant in August of last year, recover those 100 documents, and then they went back to the lawyers. We got you guys by the balls. You signed this document saying we have everything. We don't. Y'all lied to us. Then, okay, we'll cooperate. Bam. That's how they have the memorialized notes. So that tells me not only the lawyers are going to testify against them, but the people at Mar-a-Lago that saw the documents in the first place to help them write their search warrant, all that shit. So I agree with you. The only way that he's going to beat this is he's got to drag it out to the election, either win and pardon himself, or one of the other presidents pardons him. You think RFK would pardon him?
Yeah, I think he would, but I just don't think RFK has any chance. I think Biden's got it locked up on the Dem side.
On the low, I like RFK a lot. I've been watching his interviews. He's against Big Pharma, which I like. He's pretty based. He knows that there was a conspiracy to kill his uncle, which we'll talk about on Rumble. And it wasn't just the mafia. And yeah, he's not a typical Democrat, but yeah, I agree with you. There's no way he's fucking winning, bro.
Yeah, well, and here's the other thing. I don't think he's as good as everybody says. I like what you like, which is that he talks about, I don't know how much we could say on YouTube, but he does talk about Big Pharma and he talks about these COVID interventions.
Yeah.
I can't see a whole lot more, though, that I like. I mean, I think at one point he was talking about like fining people that deny climate change and these kinds of things. Very socially liberal. At the end of the day, he is a Democrat. I mean, I get the appeal. He's intelligent. He's well-spoken. He's anti-establishment.
His voice is going to piss a lot of people off, too.
That, too.
You have to get, if you guys ever listen to him talk, he has like a condition that like makes his voice sound very shaky or whatever. And as a president of the United States, image matters a lot. And they're going to be like, oh, well, you sound weird or whatever. He's very smart, but like it takes a while it's like whiskey. It grows on you. You got to drink more of it, I guess, to get used to it. But yeah, and then the other thing too is that he wants to go back to like the United States being like the moral authority. I don't think we should be intervening in other countries, right? Because then fucking bullshit. But yeah, sorry, you had anything else with that?
Yeah, no, just I'm not as gung ho. Like I said, I like the things you like, but I think people are a little too enthusiastic for him. We need to demand, in other words, like I think he represents this strain of compromise between the far right and far left that isn't super useful. He reminds me of like a Glenn Greenwald or like a Tulsi Gabbard type. And a lot of these people, what they have in common.
I'm going to say this. I would never vote for RFK. I would never support RFK. RFK at PorkFest basically said, he was like, I'm not going to try to take away your guns, but we need to do something about school shooting. And the Second Amendment hasn't really been under attack. Yeah, RFK is definitely anti-2A. RFK is also pro-affirmative action. He made this statement after the affirmative action Supreme Court ruling that was literally a carbon copy of something that Ibram X. Kendi has said. I wrote about it on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. You can go read it. It's an article that says RFK is woke, and it lays out the specific quote, and then it it shows you that quote next to something that Ibram X. Kendi wrote in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. So RFK basically said, we need present day discrimination to fix past discrimination. Ibram X. Kendi said basically the same thing in his book. And so when RFK is quite literally using Ibram X. Kendi's talking points, I have a problem with that. RFK also came out in favor of cancellation of student loan debt. Now, in all honesty, I'm in favor of cancellation of student loan debt, but it's for a completely hypocritical reason, because I know it's bad and I don't care, because if everyone else is going to get socialism, I want socialism too. I know it's completely hypocritical. I'm not going to cry if it doesn't happen or anything, but like, would I be upset about it? No, but I know it's bad. It's like one of those things. It's like ice cream, right? Like, you know it's bad, but like you eat it anyway because it's like good. And like, again, if I think everyone else is getting socialism, I want socialism, because that's only fair. But I know it's bad. RFK does not know that it's bad, and so he's still a Democrat. And I don't care how good he was on vaccines. I don't care how good he is on COVID. I don't care about any of these things. He is still an effing Democrat. And what's even worse than that is RFK doesn't actually seem to understand that the Democratic Party is not the party of his father or his uncle. He's like, RFK would be like a useful idiot for the left, because he does not understand that the left is now toxic. And he has not seemed to wrap his head around how far down the Marxism road they've actually gone. Because if he had, he wouldn't have come out in favor of affirmative action, and he wouldn't come out in favor of the student loan cancellation. Like, so no, you cannot trust him. I don't care how good he is. I don't care how good he is on COVID. I don't care. We're not in COVID anymore. The pandemic's over. And I know that vaccines were a big ass thing a couple years ago. And maybe if RFK was running a couple years ago, I would feel different about it. But we are in a different time, in a different era. And he needs to learn about the state of his own party. And if he doesn't do that, then why should I trust him? No. Denied.
Is they'll criticize a big pharma.
No, you're right. That's probably one of the most accurate summarizations I've seen of like where he stands.
Yeah, and I think that it's overstated how valuable that is, because the premise of this show and shows like it is that we really need a real return to tradition. Like when you talk about masculinity and women being submissive and marriage and reverting to religions, that seems to be everybody's doing that. That is what civilization needs. It needs strength, order, tradition, masculinity. And what I see these guys bringing forward is basically like liberalism, but less corrupt. They're like, we want to go back to like 90s liberalism. And it's like 90s liberalism.
I agree with this. I agree with you.
Today's liberalism. You know, and like it's still liberal. So to me, it's just not good enough. And it's a step in the right direction, but I don't think that we should settle for that. It's a form of appeasement. We need a real right-wing reactionary movement.
Okay. Feminism. Give us your takes on it. Obviously,
a right-wing reactionary movement is one of the stupidest possible things that can happen, and it's one of the stupidest possible things that Nick Fuentes or anyone who doesn't like the left could want. Because I'll tell you what, the right is already getting like reactionary right now. They are playing this game so effing stupid, and what the right is doing when they're getting reactionary is they're driving independents and politically disaffected lefties who like look at the Democratic Party and they're like, this is really insane. They're driving them back into the open arms of the Democratic Party. I'm sorry, this is not 2020. This is a different time. And you know, like a lot of the Trump and the Republican Party have lost a lot of the people that came out to vote for him in 2016, and he's lost a lot of people that came out to vote for him in 2020. And I don't really think they've wrapped their head around this. And the reason that they are losing people is they are not playing this game smart. They are being reactionary douchebags that are being overtly cruel to people, that are even telling people, we don't want you in our movement. Do you know how many times I was told, don't bother being in our movement, we don't want your vote? And I was like, okay, well, you don't have to have it then. And it's really that simple. And it's like all this stuff combined with abortion too, and like everything that's going on. The left is actually, listen, I know that conservatives and people on the right and probably Nick Fuentes supporters are not going to want to hear this, but right now, to normal people, people who are not like us, people who are not up at 12:30 in the morning on a Sunday watching Nick Fuentes on YouTube, right? Normal people. If they look at the left, they're seeing kind of a relatively kind of like calm demeanor right now, because remember, the left isn't doing this crazy protest shit right now. They're not. And so that's not on the news all the time. So all the stuff that was making the left look crazy in 2020 is not happening now. The right is being portrayed on the news as being people who are crazy and unhinged and looking for groomers and pedophiles everywhere. And they're meeting that expectation. Like, you go on Twitter, and I say this as someone who has exposed more grooming, real grooming in the public schools than almost anyone else on the internet. You go on Twitter and the right is calling every single person who disagrees with them a groomer and a pedophile and reading at them and crying at them and brigading them and all this shit. And it's pissing a lot of people off. And so I think that a reactionary right is possibly one of the worst things that can happen, because I don't actually want the left to win. And I think if the right gets any more reactionary than it already is right now, and don't even get me started on the Christian moral majority bullshit, like, if they get any more reactionary, they are going to drive every single vote that they gained in 2020, every single vote that they gained in 2016 from these people who were disaffected and were like, maybe we should try something new. They are going to drive them all back into the arms of the Democratic Party, because what the conservative right and the RNC and then the MAGA movement and Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, maybe Nick Fuentes has wrapped his head around this and he just doesn't care, but what these people have not wrapped their head around is that when people disaffected to vote for Donald Trump, either in 2016 or in 2020, those people did not buy into the principles of conservatism or of America First or of the basic Republican platform or any of it. It was not about the platform or the politics or where anyone stood. People did not become conservatives. I have been accused of like becoming a conservative and then leaving like all over the internet. I quite literally never became a conservative, and I was very, very, very clear about that. Just because someone thinks the Democratic Party is crazy doesn't mean they agree with you. And so you can't even fall back on, well, you have to vote for the best candidate, because guess what? They never bought into your position in the effing first place. And so if you piss them off, they intellectually agree with the left. They just think they're acting insane. Okay? And so this reactionary idea that we need to get more cruel, we need to get more based, whatever, you guys are going to make the Democrats win if you do this. I don't want that. You might want that. I don't want that. I think it's a really bad idea. But you know what? I've kind of thrown up my hands because ain't nothing I can do. But I think it's a bad fucking idea.
We're fairly critical on that over here on this side, but I'd like to get your take on feminism in general.
I'm totally anti-feminist. I mean, some people even say I'm like anti-woman.
I don't blame you. What do you think? What do you think feminism got? What are some of the biggest fuck ups with feminism in your opinion?
Oh, all of that. I mean, because here's the thing: men and women are not the same, and so this feminist idea that there's any degree of equality, I don't think equality exists. I think that you should treat people with dignity and respect. That's like a precise thing that I would agree with.
See, I'm making friends with the Groypers
You should
tonight.
treat people
Look
with
at this.
dignity. You
See,
should
we
be
can get along
kind,
too, Groypers.
courteous, considerate. But equality does not exist in nature. Equality exists in a conceptual way. You know, that's why we have to enforce it everywhere all the time through these administrative fiat decisions. You know, like when we talk about any disparity, any inequality.
Hang on, I got a super chat from Rottweiler. Rottweiler, thank you. The left is adopting a stance in which they are baiting the right to cause another Charlottesville. Yes, they are. Or a drag Floyd moment, like Lindsay called it. Your real action is your target's reaction. This is, Rottweiler, this is an excellent point. You are 1000% correct. The left is baiting the right all the time, and the right does nothing but react. And they just walk right into trap after trap after trap after trap. It's like literally the only thing that the right needs to do is not fucking react. That's it. Just don't do anything. Don't take the bait because they're feeding it to you all the time. Just don't react, man. Focus on your priorities. Focus on your vision. Like, convince us of what you want to do. Talk about what you want to offer. Talk about why you're better. Talk about your policies. Talk about your positions. But stop reacting to what the left is doing, because every single time you react, you give the left exactly what they want.
You have to go in with a bureaucrat to rectify that, because it doesn't actually naturally occur. And so I think equality between religions, ages, genders, sex, any individual doesn't exist. Men and women are fundamentally different. Fundamentally. Not like women are, they just have different genitals and longer hair. No, they're fundamentally different. Their brains are different. Their bones are different. Their bodies are different. We should treat them different. Society should treat them different. So the idea that they would have the equality with men is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If they're not equal, essentially, why would they be equal under the law or
They don't
something?
even want equality.
They don't.
Because if you look at modern women now, what do they complain about? Guys don't hold doors open. They don't pay for dates. They're not strong. They're not leaders. Well, that assumes inequality, which is what you guys have been fighting against all this time, right? So it's. I always laugh because feminists want equality when it suits them, but they don't want it when it does. Basically, they want equality of outcome. They don't want equality of effort, is what a lot of them want.
Absolutely. Well, and here's the thing. I mean, we gave them the vote and we gave them the right to work and all these things. Now, do you see a lot of women that are super duper engaged with politics? And even these like career women, it's like fake careers, in my opinion, most of the time.
No, that's a fact. That's not even, bro, the top least paying jobs that aren't needed for infrastructure are female dominated. That's a fact.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. Women don't want it because it's not their role. I mean, women are literally biologically designed to have children. People ridicule that and mock that. They say, oh, you want the women barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. You think they're baby machines. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's what they're made to do. That's what their hormones are about. That's what their brains are about. I mean, people even say their ethics are different because their ethics are based on caregiving. I mean, they're biologically designed to nurture and care for a baby growing in their body and then take care of them after they're outside. So their disposition, their temperament, their everything is all based around that. And as a consequence, that's why most women happen to then not be fulfilled. That you're going to see, it's going to be devastating in this century. All these women that were lied to about feminism that are going to turn 30, 35, 40, no eggs, no husband, no family, ugly.
No eggs.
Going to be millions of them, and they're going to be miserable, and they're going to take it out on us. I mean, they're going to be, God help us, and it's starting to happen. Like they're getting pushed off this cliff here. I look around, and you know what it is? It's these things that people would sort of, they'd say, oh my gosh, that's so extreme. Women shouldn't be getting educated, man. They shouldn't be going to college. There's a 1-to-1 correlation with women getting educated in college and deferring child rearing. In fact, it's a higher correlation between deferring childbearing for women with education than with IQ. In other words, it's not women being intelligent. It's women going to school for all these years, which is why they put it off.
Yeah.
And it's them putting it off. I mean, and we could go really into it, but fundamentally, is the last thing I'll say, fundamentally, the problem is we have gotten away from what is morally right and what is natural. The moral law and the natural law. And what I mean by that is the moral.
Then why isn't Nick Fuentes married with kids? Really? Why isn't he married with kids? Because back in the days of yore, when men were men, Nick Fuentes would be married with kids now. So why the fuck isn't he married with kids? Seems to me like Nick Fuentes might be putting that off because, finding a female partner, which we all know is not what he wants, but he's going to have the beard. So like, whatever, like finding that female partner and prioritizing dating and building a relationship, so that you can get married and have your spawn. Like, so that just doesn't seem to be the biggest priority in Nikki's little life. And that seems to be okay with him. He's allowed to do that, but no one else is allowed to do that. Huh. What happens when little Nikki gets too old to find a virgin? What happens then? He's 26 and claims to be looking for a virgin. Yeah, well, how's that going? Does Nick really think he's going to find a virgin? Or is Nick just, doing everything he can to avoid getting married to a woman? Because it seems to me that it is a really unreasonable expectation that Nick Fuentes is going to find a virgin wife. Maybe he will. Maybe. Okay, he can maybe pull it. Maybe there's some virgin dating site. I don't know. I don't know how they confirm virginity, but, I don't know. Are we still checking hymens nowadays? Is that still a thing? Anyway, I would argue that Nick Fuentes is claiming that he wants a virgin bride because he wants to make it as difficult as humanly possible to find someone to marry him, because Nick Fuentes does not want to get married to a woman. But it's a really nice story to tell his audience. It's a really nice story. It's a really nice excuse. I just haven't found the right virgin yet. Just trying. It's so hard to find a virgin these days. It's just so hard. I just don't know. Really nice excuse so that he can avoid getting married to a woman.
Law says that sex is only moral within marriage. Mm-hmm. And the natural law says that we start to feel like we want to reproduce in our adolescent years. Women have a biological clock. Society should be ordered around these two fundamental facts. Get kids married, get them married young.
I agree with you that he is
kids.
absolutely
when
not
you start
looking
to introduce
for a woman
this,
to marry.
They got to wait until they're 25. They got to wait until they're 30, and they got to have dating experience, and they got to go to college, and we got to go through the rigmarole. This is what's producing the society with all these things that just don't work or make sense. Hookup culture, pornography, incels, players, this notion about Chads getting all the sex and everyone else hung out to dry. In a Catholic society, young women are getting married off. They're having kids. This is healthy for them. That keeps them young, actually. The hormones when they have kids keeps them young. The men are having kids. The fertility rate stays high. The society stays
Kids
stable.
don't come out with autism.
Exactly. And the high mutational load that's associated with deferring childhood. That is just how the society should be. We got to radically rethink gender, sex, all these things in the society.
Question for you. Do you think women should vote?
No, absolutely not.
Sorry. What? Okay, so I think women should vote, but a female's vote should be half of a man's vote because of selective service. Why do you think they shouldn't vote?
Because I don't believe in individualism. I don't think that we have a society of individuals. I think we have a society of families. I think there's a man.
The thing that makes the alt-right exactly the same as the far left is that neither the alt-right nor the far left believe in individualism. The alt-right are collectivists, just like the far left are collectivists. This is horseshoe theory in action. They are both collectivists. They are more alike each other than they are different. Everyone always has to keep that in mind.
A woman and a child. Children shouldn't vote. Women shouldn't vote. I think the vote should go to the household, and the vote should go to the leader of the household, which is the father, the male, the husband. But I also think that very, very few people should vote. The intention was never to have everybody
not
voting.
all men should vote either.
You
know what? That's a good point. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Right? Because, we have this idea that, voting's your God-given right. It's like, why? What discernment does a 19-year-old student who works a retail job, what discernment do they have about the society? A landlord knows infinitely more about how the country works than a 19-year-old student,
Good
actually.
Point.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have a business. You guys have a business here. You had to put the studio together. You know how this stuff works. Again, you are given some discernment about how society works. These women that are on OnlyFans and that are fucking around, they don't know shit.
Yeah. Facts. It's funny. Just to add to your point as well, when you say a 19-year-old, for example, or a woman on OnlyFans, what are they influenced by? TikTok, social media. So you're right. Their vote's kind of accounted for already because of the agenda. But let me ask you this, Nick. So family, right? It's very
if we're gonna say that social media influencing your vote is the most dangerous thing that can possibly happen, then I think that influencers and content creators with over 1 million subs should never be allowed to vote because it's just they're too dangerous. We just can't allow these people to have a voice in our system. They already have too much of a voice in our system if we're honest about it. And since we just can't trust them to correctly evaluate the situation since they lie so fucking much. If we want to talk about discernment being a requirement for voting, I could undermine the credibility of pretty much any goddamn social media influencer that you could put right in front of me. And it wouldn't even be hard. So if we can undermine your credibility as a content creator, social media influencer, you shouldn't be allowed to vote either.
Important. And I believe that is true. So if his family is very important, head of the family is a man. So in your opinion, which gender would be, I want to say, more responsible for women being how they are now?
That's always the question. And it's a very good question. I think, though, that when you ask men versus women, it obfuscates another dimension to it, which is that
Thank you.
there's not just a power imbalance between men and women, there's a power imbalance between men. And so I think that the role of media cannot be understated, because it was like these activist groups and the media, which and it was all men, of course, but they are the ones that put the women out as the shock troops. And it's interesting because when you look at these voting groups that are the most liberal, who are the most liberal Democrat voting groups? It's ethnic and racial minorities, women, and young people. When the CIA does a color revolution in another country and they want to topple a nationalist government, what are the three groups they go after? Who do they give the money to? When you see, right? When you say the Maidan, when you see these things, the Arab Spring, it's the religious and ethnic, racial minorities, it's the women, it's the students, because there's most influenceable.
Blacks.
I didn't want to say it. You can say it
for you. I said it for you. Yeah.
I appreciate it
for you, man.
And for all the for all the brothers out there, whatever, the Democrats aren't.
I do not have kids, and I'm 42, and I am so fucking pleased with that. I love my money. I love my freedom. I love not having to deal with people whining at me and demanding I do things for them. I love not having to take my kids to school and deal with teachers. I love my extra time, which I can put back into doing things that I want to do and make me happy. I fucking love it so much. I will never have kids, and it is so amazing, and I could not be happier with my decision. And you guys can cry about that all you want, and you can cite all the studies that you want, and it will make absolutely no difference. And oh, look, baby, because you just insulted me in the chat, now you're gonna get banned. Oh, you broke the rules. I'm so sorry. You guys are so predictable. Goodbye. Guys, as a reminder, the rules of the chat are: do not be a dick. You will not insult me. You will not insult other people in the chat. And no whining. If I tell you to stop doing something, stop doing it. I can do whatever I want because this is my house and you are a guest in it. And if you don't like it, you can leave.
Aren't going to save you. Like, they're really not, bro. And they've had the black vote for decades.
They use it as a tool to get your vote, but ultimately they don't care about you.
They don't give a fuck about black people, bro.
They don't care, bro.
Like Biden, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Like, no, bro. It's psyop. Sorry,
you are a
Nick.
tool.
Yeah, well, it's totally true. And you even get into like, white people are blamed for so much of the black people's problems in the country. If you really go back, and we want to name names, we want to go into the textbook, the lore. I mean, you're going to find some people that look white. You're going to find some people that, not exactly. Yeah, not quite.
All right, guys, we're going to get into that Rumble.
Right, Rumble.
All right, we got to talk about that on Rumble.
Dancing on the line.
We got some more.
Start moving over, guys. That legendary. Start moving over. More Rumble.
Yes.
No, sorry, continue on, Nick.
So,
nigga said Lord, like Lord of the Rings.
I did give a warning. I said that the rules of my chat are don't be a dick and no whining. If you cannot follow those simple rules, then you will be banned. That's your warning. If you don't like it, you can go somewhere else, buddy.
The Lord.
You talk about that too in the book. Well, the book mentions them boys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But sorry, we'll continue on.
So as far as who's to blame, of course it's the men, because the men unleash the women, but it's specific men. Because I don't think any of these guys who are young, like boomers understood. Like my father is a man. My father got it. He was born in 62. So last gasp of the boomers. And he's a man. He got it. He wasn't, under any illusions about feminism. But it's this persistent drumbeat from the media and from these activists, particular men, saying women need rights, women got to go out there, free love, that kind of thing.
So with the influence too, it's the famous dudes that are doing this bullshit.
Exactly.
A lot of the time.
Yep.
No, it's not arbitrary. It's not arbitrary. If you insult me in any way, you will be blocked. If you insult other people in the chat in any way, you will be blocked. If you are not adult enough to know what an insult is and you want to keep fucking whining about it, then you will be blocked because you broke my no fucking whining rule. If you want to keep whining about the rules in my chat and demanding that you get to make the rules in my house, you could just consider this YouTube channel private property, bitch, because I will say and do whatever I want. You don't have a say in it. I don't want to hear any more whining in the chat. And if you can't handle that, GTFO. Are we understood?
Really good point, bro. Yeah, because like those guys don't represent the majority.
They don't.
They represent a minority, but the problem is that they got a majority of the influence.
Yes.
And you know, now I think about this shit. See, I'm really glad that when we have high IQ guests because it helps me think. Why did Andrew Tate blow up? Think about that for a second. The reason why Andrew Tate blew up wasn't because we got a bunch of feminized men that want female equality and all this other bullshit. No, it was a bunch of guys that were suppressed that couldn't fucking say what the hell was really on their mind. They knew feminism was bullshit. They knew that these women were out of order. They knew that all this shit was fucked up and affirmative action and women getting hired for jobs that they don't necessarily qualify for, don't deserve, getting hired over men that are superior to them. They knew it was all bullshit. So what happened? Andrew Tate says, hey, the fuck? Stop being a part of the matrix, blah, blah. Everyone goes crazy because he's been saying what everyone's thinking. Trump, why do you win? There was a silent majority that thought, you know what? Fuck this shit. Yeah, America first. This is bullshit. What's up with all these feminists, all these weird libtards? But it's the, you know, the minority of men that have the influence that are the feminists that with the fucking pink hair marching like, yeah, let's go on a slow walk with y'all. But the rest of the guys are like, this is bullshit. But they shut up because they don't want to lose their job.
Yeah. Even celebrity actors, some of our, for example, The Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, what's happening to people that are the sign of masculinity turn into like freaking women?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
bro.
a lot of the most influential actors,
wearing dresses,
musicians, etc. They're liberals, and then that's what everyone thinks it is. But the reality is, it's not. Like, why did we blow up? Why did Andrew Tate blow up? Why are you popular? Even though you've been counseled.
The Rock is not liberal. The Rock is actually very conservative, not liberal.
Everywhere, you got an army behind you. Why? Because they're tired of the fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
man.
there's an appetite for it.
Yeah,
plain and simple. And it's right. You look at these actors. I used to say, and I say this on my show, like my favorite genre of movie or TV show. And I think it's true of everybody. It's the same movie every time, no matter who the actor is, and no matter what the kind of movie it is. It's like there's an old white guy, and he's the fucking best at everything. And they throw everything at him, and he solves it. That's 24. That's House of Cards. That's Breaking Bad. That's every show.
Walter White, Kiefer Sutherland.
It's Mad Men.
Rocky,
it's Drive.
Rocky Balboa.
It's everything.
Yeah,
you know,
Walter White,
Clint Eastwood, John Wayne. It's a white guy.
Mickey was one of them. Sorry, never mind.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, my bad.
Or any man for that matter.
Yeah.
But there's a guy, and it's a father figure, but it's a father archetype. And that's what people are longing for. And that's why they look at it. They seek that out in an Andrew Tate or, you know, us or anybody else.
Yeah. Some chats here?
Before I read the chats, as far as women go on, you know, the family unit, etc. What's your response to all the haters that call you an incel?
Well, I mean, I call myself an incel, so I don't really help my case there. But, you know, here's the thing about that. You know, I am a virgin. I'm waiting until marriage. I'm Catholic. I believe it's a mortal sin to have sex.
Wait a minute.
He doesn't want to have sex with a woman.
You weren't joking?
No.
He doesn't want to have sex with a woman.
Okay.
He doesn't want to have sex with a woman.
No, he's serious, man.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Shout out to you, man.
And, you know, and I'm not trying to hide behind the morality. I mean, to an extent, I mean, for me,
he doesn't want to have
sex. It's just never been about sex for me. And what I try to tell young guys is, look, there's more to life than sex. And even I would say the marriage, because there's this pernicious thing that goes on where I think there's a lot of guys out there that really believe that their problem is they don't have a girlfriend. Like there's so many guys that are miserable, like spiritually crushed. And in their mind, and this is why you see him sad posting like bitches on Twitter or TikTok, you know, I don't have a girlfriend. I want cuddles, whatever. It's like this therapy.
Nick Fuentes is the most obviously repressed gay man I have ever seen in my life. Nick Fuentes, this is my opinion. There is no chance in this universe that Nick Fuentes is straight. There is no chance in this universe that Nick Fuentes wants to sleep with a woman. Like there is no reality. No, he might do it because he feels like he needs to uphold his image. And like, you know, generally speaking, the equipment will work, you know, just because he is a virgin and he is a man and that's just the way that goes. But there is no reality in this universe in which Nick Fuentes is straight. Peace, I am not answering that question. Do not ask it again.
Therapeutic thing. And what it is, though, what I noticed is it's like a mommy issue thing. They want a woman to run their finger through their hair and say it's going to be okay. They want a mommy. And I'm here to tell the young guys, like, you got to be a fucking man. Let go of your mom. Okay. You got to leave the coop. You don't need another mom. You don't need to marry your mom to take care of you. Because what I see happen to these guys is they find their girlfriend. In some cases, they get married and they turn into these like schlub, miserable people. I tell guys, focus on yourself. Be happy as an independent man. Get your skill. Make your money, get an education. And this happens for a different age for everybody. But you got to really become a man first. Then you get married. Then you get your girlfriend, whatever. And that's kind of what I've been on for a long time. I mean, you know, I've really survived under kind of the worst circumstances ever, being banned from banks and every social media. And I tell people, would I have been able to do this if I was worried about picking up chicks?
Good point.
You know, like if I'm 18
Good point.
and I'm doing a green screen show in my mom's basement talking about what I talk about for 100 people, and I go to a bar and say, hey, you know, what's going on? And they say, what do you do? I'm like, well, I host this, you know, racist show in my parents' basement. How's that going to go?
What power? What the fuck, Chris? This is good, Chris. Yo, I will say this, right? Because when I said that I was going to bring you on the show, like some people out there were like, why are you bringing Nick on a dating podcast, bro? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is a dating podcast. She's a virgin. Fuck you guys. This isn't a show about just getting laid and getting chicks. This show about becoming a better man, being fucking smart, knowing what the hell's going on in the world around you, not being a moron. And here's the thing. I would argue, bro, with your fame and your clout, you're not really an incel. You go get a bitch now if you wanted to, right? You know, some fucking tradcon whore is gonna be like, oh yeah, I don't like them boys either. Just fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they would probably smash you. So I would argue you're choosing to be celibate at this point. Maybe at first it was a joke, like, oh yeah, I'm an incel. Yeah. But at this point, bro, you famous as fuck. You can fuck some bitch.
I can appreciate your point of view because once again, like,
and he's doing it for religious reasons. So I can respect that too.
Looking back at my life,
fuck you haters,
and being Christian as well. If I can go back in time, I'll prefer not to get into it because, hey man, you start smashing girls, bro, get into that path. It's a path of like infinite, unnecessary, like
especially
turmoil because it never ends. It's like a thirst of like, all right, I smashed, I busted a nut. All right, where's the next one? It never ends. So I think, personally speaking, like your point of view is good because you're for one, you're an individual that knows what they want, and two, you're not going to be or succumb to like the lust of like women, which I think is really good. But once again, I'm already too far gone.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it like that's a great message for the guys. Like, yo, don't focus on women, focus on yourself. Yeah. And yeah, you're right, bro. Getting canceled on everything, being under investigation by the FBI, getting on a no fucking flight list, all this shit. Like, bro, that you had to overcome a lot of adversity. I could only imagine if you had to fucking deal with a female.
Actually, any man that has had success had to, on some level, stop chicks. Inventors, scientists, even us on a podcast for a whole year and a half. We didn't really do much. Yeah. Just focus on the podcast. So you're right.
You have to go through to go through a period of not dealing with chicks, man, to like fucking like get your shit together. That's just what it is, man. So I can respect it, and you do it for religious reasons. So fuck the haters, man. Yeah. But we can hit the chats and then we can get into Destiny and Sneeko.
All right.
His best people.
Yeah. I don't care about them reading the chats at all. I don't care about that. I just wanted them to go to Rumble.
He's like,
everything
after literally got to the office, worked 18 hours. He drops me off at my hotel and he goes, how much you need to sleep? I'm like, I don't know, 5-6 hours. He goes, okay, I'll call you in 6 hours.
Hang on, are they talking about
be like,
and then we got here, Yvette won us. Why in the world
for a long I'd be like, no, you know, what are you talking about this, that?
Wait, isn't he Asian?
He's Haitian and Asian.
Haitian, Asian, and little something else, I think. Hungarian. So he says. I'm Hungarian, right? Yeah. No, but that's okay. I mean, he's a good guy. And so he called in and he's dropping heat. I'm like, whoa, like this guy's totally red pilled. He surprised me.
Yeah.
So we rapidly became friends and we linked up, met for the first time in LA during the A24 back in November, December last year.
What was it like being in EA's campaign? Was it like hard? Was it like a lot of like pressure?
I want to know about that.
It was.
And then why did you ultimately leave?
Well, it was wild. I mean, from start to finish, that's all you could really say about it, because this man like doesn't sleep. And I say this not saying that he has mental illness, but manic is the right way to describe it. And not saying he's like manic depressive, but meaning like just frenetic, frenzied, like wakes up. I remember there was one day we worked like 18 hours, literally got to the office, worked 18 hours. He drops me off at my hotel and he goes, how much you need to sleep? I'm like, I don't know, 5-6 hours. He goes, okay, I'll call you in 6 hours. And then did. And then literally my alarm goes off and he's texting me. And that was the pace for like months. And he's a perfectionist. That's the other thing. He's a big believer in the hoodies, the shoes. He wants to do it 100 times. He wants to see 100 colorways, 100 variations, 100. And he's like that with the political stuff. So some of these messages we're writing about Brittany Griner and some of these other things, we literally did it 100 times, 100 different ways, opposite ways. You know, he would call and say, well, I want it written like a prayer. Write it like a prayer. Okay, now I want it written like a joke. Okay, now it's too funny. Make it more serious.
Is this like a tweet or something? Or
yeah.
Oh, okay. So like y'all are like going over a bunch of different tweets about one topic.
Like one tweet.
Wow.
Literally one tweet. I remember the Brittany Griner, he got banned on Twitter. We put it on Telegram. We spent like 12 hours.
They banned him on Twitter?
Yeah.
For the Brittany Griner thing?
After Alex Jones.
No, he got banned on Twitter for posting
okay.
Nazi
We'll talk about
shit.
that
touchy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because they definitely misconstrued what he said.
No, they did not misconstrue what he said.
Okay, so I didn't know he was a perfectionist like that, because I've heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, I've heard from like artists that work with him, he'll like he'll do a verse and then he'll like get up and like start doing designs.
Yes.
And then he'll get up again and do something else. And then he'll get up and do something else. Then he'll come back to the music. Then he'll go back and do something else. He can't stay still. It's just like, I got to keep doing something, be productive at all times.
Yeah. He's a polymath, you know? So we would be towards the later part of it. I mean, he loves hotels. He'd like live in hotel rooms and he loves the hotel design and everything. And so we'd be in a room. And I remember there was one day we're in a room and he's got the guy that produced Don DeTua is in the corner with the laptop making a song. Okay. And in the other corner is a business manager doing the easy business. And over here you got, I think somebody's doing designs. And then I'm over here on the bench on the laptop writing up the thing. Yeah. And he's sitting there playing a video game. But he's like, then this guy literally, and you know, I've been a fan of his music forever. I've been a fan of his, like a diehard fan since about 2015, 2016.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And I know everybody says he's a genius, and I think that's certainly true about the music. And I was always a little skeptical. What's he like in real life? You know, because I see the interviews and I see the brilliance and I listen to the music and I hear the creativity. But being with him in person, he really does have this creative spark. You can't put your finger on it. You can't describe it. All you can say is it's true, like inspiration, true creative inspiration. And so working with him, we'd be in an office setting or we'd be in the hotel room, and he would go from the design to the business to the politics, playing music. And you notice that in every domain, he's got an insight. In every domain, he's got like an intuitive grasp of whether it's fashion or music, even politics. I was amazed at the stuff that he just got. Like he didn't know the specifics because he's not a political guy. And, you know, so that was some of the stuff we were working on, is kind of getting him doing the crash course on politics. And yet, even though like I do this every day, he had just intuitively grasped concepts that most people, it takes them years to understand about the topics that we'll get into on Rumble, but even anything, just got it.
Good.
And that's something that you can't teach. That's something you're born with. And that's the guy that does graduation. That's a guy that does the easy 350s. That's a guy that, does what he did in November, which I thought was sort of a masterpiece of its own. So, I mean, it was an honor to be with him, and one of the most inspirational things that happened to me, and he talked about that. He said, I look at you, he would say to me, as somebody who's going to go out in politics, he sees himself as sort of like a mentor in a sense to people that he's worked with on music or fashion. And so he thought, you're going to take things that you worked with me and take that into politics. And I certainly did. I think it was a true inflection point even in my career, just having that exposure to him in that way. So it was incredible.
And people got fired working with him. One in particular comes to my mind, Milo.
What happened there?
If you could talk about it.
Well, it was this whole drama back in December 2022. I think it was tail end of November, beginning of December. And honestly, everybody got fired except for me. And I don't say that just because I'm here, but I mean, that's literally, I'll tell you the whole deal. But he sort of brought a team together in November, and we're bringing a lot of people in. And after Alex Jones, he fired everybody. And I was the sole political contact basically from around late December until May. And then Milo was brought back in during May. And I had a big problem with that. And we could get into that chapter. But back in November and December, basically Milo got fired for general incompetence. He's also somebody who's not really directionally in line with where Ye was at that time. Because, I mean, you remember the stuff Ye was saying. Milo is one of them boys,
Okay, fair enough.
He's one of them people, okay? And so I remember we'd be in the room and Ye would be putting this stuff out there.
So those comments caused a rift between him and Milo.
Well, yeah. And
did. Okay.
And there was this pressure where I was always saying like, yes, like I'm always saying, yes, yes, you're the genius. You're the master. Let's go in that direction. Because he'd be saying some wild stuff about strategy, about policy. And Milo would always be there, you know, trying to poo-poo that and say, no, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. This and that. And there was this big,
so you would say, yes, let's find a way versus no, we can't do that.
Basically, yeah. And the thing is, like, my favorite tweet that he ever put out, I put it on my Telegram today. He put out a tweet a few years ago and said, stop setting plays, stop playing chess with life, be as transparent as possible. That's my MO. When I go out there and I say what I say, which people don't like, and even people that agree with me say, that's too far, that's too controversial, people aren't ready. I don't think I'm not a machinator. I'm not a political guy. Even though I talk about politics, I speak from my heart. I'm passionate. And I think me and Ye were similar in that regard. He wanted to go out there and say it. And the first night I met him, he said something, and I literally thought it was like providential because this was a crossroads I was in. You know, Milo, because I had known him for a time, he was pushing me all the time. Stop talking about this. Stop saying that. Don't say this on your show. You got to be a guy people can do business with. Which what does that mean? Money, compromise.
Yeah.
And I would say, no, dude, like I got to be true to the message. I got to put it out there. I just disagree with you. And the first night I met Ye, and I was at a real crossroads personally. And I wasn't really talking too much. Ye was kind of holding court in this church. And he said something that touched that question in my mind. He said, look, we're like 50 years from a Black Mirror episode. And unless somebody like me goes out and says this, like it's all over. And I'm not saying verbatim, but that was the gist of it.
Yeah.
And it was like a lightning bolt. I'm like, that's what I needed to hear. That's exactly right.
We're going to hear it on Rumble, what exactly he said specifically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In other words, there's urgency.
Yeah.
There's urgency. It has weight. Like our civilization is crumbling.
Yeah.
And we need people who are persuasive and compelling and influential to start to put that message out there. Let people do with it what they will.
Yeah.
Let other people make the compromises. We need to get the truth out there. That's my view.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if people want to have their varying degree of self-censorship, that's fine. That's your job. My job is to tell the truth. My job is to be a compelling orator and tell people what's up and start making sense. And everyone in their role can figure out how to work it into their world.
Question for you. I do believe there's truth there. The truth should be told to everybody. But on the same end of that stick, would you say that like Milo was saying, you know what, in certain cases, if you hold it back here, it can impact more people if you're still relevant? Because right now, he's done for because it's not even a thing anymore.
That's a fair
What if he's more like
point.
careful about how he moved about what he said? Would that help at all? Or do you think or no?
Well, I think there's a point to be made. There's all the difference in the world between being true to yourself and then suicide.
Yeah.
Jumping in.
And that Alex Jones show was suicide.
I will
if
say,
we're
though,
honest
in
about
his
it.
case, I don't think it was something that was unrecoverable. And I think that he did a lot to raise the consciousness, even after the Alex Jones appearance. I'd go to my barber. He's not a right-wing political guy. And he would say, yeah, he's just saying what we're all thinking after that. And, I think there's something to be said about, and even he said this on Alex Jones, about a boldness. He said, we're the SWAT team. I'm the battering ram. I blow the door down. And then Nick comes in with the facts, or so-and-so comes in. But his job was to sort of break the door down on the conversation. And maybe that's just a temperament thing. Maybe that's just like a personal philosophy. I'm a big believer in like, blow it up, cause disorder, cause chaos, because we're on this trajectory where there's a 0% chance we win. Like if they have it their way, the status quo marches on, we are all dead. Like we are all...
All right, I'm about to say something that I am positive is going to end up getting me into trouble at some point. But it's 1 a.m., like, whatever. For people who claim to believe in free speech, claim to want to defend individual liberties, claim to want to defend, protect everyone's rights, claim to dislike cancel culture, I do find it a little bit, hypocritical to say that people cannot even talk about or reference anything related to the Jews or Israel at all. I find it to be hypocritical. I find it to be intellectually dishonest. And if your ideas, listen, not hating people because they're Jewish should be a pretty easy argument to make. I would think not wanting another Holocaust should be a pretty easy argument to make. These are not high bars. Like, not killing someone because of how they were born is an extraordinarily easy argument to make. So, if these very simple ideas of like the Holocaust was bad, if that can't stand on its own merit up to scrutiny of someone mentioning Hitler or questioning, God forbid, and I'm not saying I'm questioning the number because I don't actually question the number at all, but like, what if someone did? Because, you know, if you're right, and not only are you right, you have the righteous position, then just reality should be able to bear that out, and you shouldn't be afraid of people asking questions. And I'm sorry, like, I do not believe in foreign aid. I don't. And yes, that includes for Israel, mother effers. I don't think we should be funding Israel. I don't think we should be funding Palestine. I don't think we should be funding Ukraine. I don't think we should be funding anything. Why can't I say that? I don't mind if people have these conversations. I loved what I love. Oh God, that almost got clipped out of context. I love the fact that Ye said what he did on Alex Jones because it showed us who Ye really is, and it showed us what he really thinks. You know? Like, he didn't have to speak in code. He didn't have to wait till the stream goes on Rumble. You know? I mean, it's like if your ideas are truly and obviously correct, then you should be able to withstand people discussing them without having a massive hissy fit, without canceling people, without this, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry.
Totally screwed. Civilization's over. So my idea is, like, it's like a meteor headed towards Earth, and we got to hit it with the nuclear bomb. We got to hit it with the Armageddon Bruce Willis and knock it off its trajectory. So the goal is more just like disruption. The goal is more just blow it up, light it up, change the conversation, create things that are unpredictable. Because I think that when you start to think like that, Neil, there's something to be said for that. And this is the last thing I'll say. But when you start to think like this, like, well, maybe I should just cut around the edges here and trim the corners, it's a very slippery slope. And people make decisions like this every day, what they're going to push and pull on. And when you start to, it's a very tricky thing. And I think a lot of the times people start to let themselves get dragged into this complacency and they say a lot less than they ever intended to say. So I'm always of the mind that the bias needs to be against the lethargy. The bias needs to be in favor of forward momentum. I lean on the side of Ye going and saying what he did, as opposed to, maybe let's just not, we got to go all out in some cases.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
Real quick, you met Trump with Kanye. What was that like, meeting Trump in person?
Well, it's unbelievable, because these are my two heroes.
Yeah.
And I've said that forever. I mean, I'm not like a bandwagoner. Like, Trump is my number one hero. I think he's one of the greatest Americans that ever lived. Same thing with Ye. I mean, he's been a personal hero and inspiration. And so here I am.
Was it weird, like, being on one side to defeat the other?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that was the weirdest part about it, because, maybe under normal circumstances, it'd be a different dynamic. But here I am, across from Donald Trump and Ye. And I'm just like, for the first 30 minutes, I just couldn't believe it. I was just like enamored. But there was a point during the dinner where Ye asked Trump to be his running mate. I mean, he actually asked him that. That wasn't just a joke.
Shit.
He said, like, and it was funny because...
Paint the picture for us. Who's there at that dinner?
Oh, okay. So we pull up to Mar-a-Lago. We go to the patio, and it's... So I'm sitting here. You're sitting where Trump was.
Okay.
And here's Ye. And then here's this other guy whose name I forget. And then over here is Karen Giorno, who's this Zio person, political operator.
Of course.
Yeah, cha-ching.
Yeah.
Anyway. So this is the table. It's about as big as this table, maybe even smaller.
Yeah.
And it's Thanksgiving. It's 2 days before Thanksgiving. It's also, and I told Ye on this on the plane because I'm a little autistic about the dates. I said, it's kind of weird. This is the day Kennedy was killed, November 22nd.
Oh, shit.
22.
Okay.
It's also weird, the numerology, because Donda 2 came out on 2/22/22, February 22nd, 22.
Oh, wow.
And then the dinner was 11/22/22. So just kind of weird how the dates lined up.
It's my mom's birthday, too.
Mm.
Fucking crazy.
There you go.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Kennedy as well, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Thank you,
My
Tom
dog,
J. I appreciate
My
it.
host that day.
Fuck your dog, nigga. Sorry. So, okay. So you're there, 11/22, 22. So yeah.
Right. So it's 2 days before Thanksgiving, and they had a Thanksgiving special for us.
Oh,
So they give us the menu, but they say we got Thanksgiving turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes, and so we order and everything. And initially, it's funny because I noticed that Trump is trying to do the black voter pitch. It was almost kind of like secondhand embarrassment because it's like you're talking to the number one rock star in the 21st century, and he's telling them like, "Hey, how about these opportunity zones?" And I'm like, bro, come on, man. It's like that Jonah Hill movie. You see that, those you people. It was like that with the parents. I'm like, bro,
come on, man.
He's not that kind of black person. He's not Larry Elder, And so, and the thing is, Ye is very shy. I don't know if you know this, but it's one of the most endearing things about him because he's a real human being.
Yeah.
As much as he has this ego, which is deserved, and I love. Yeah. He's also a little shy, a little anxious, apprehensive, I noticed, which I like because it shows that there's a real guy in there.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he's kind of quiet. I could tell he's maybe a little nervous. He's a little shy. And so he's not really talking. And Trump gives him the iPad and says, "Oh, we have the music here. This iPad controls the music. Pick any one of your songs you like." And Ye puts on Say You Will from 808s.
Okay.
And then he puts on Stronger, I think, because that's his number one most streamed song.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we all start getting more comfortable. Trump starts talking to this guy next to me. And then me and Trump have this long back and forth for I would say 30 or 45 minutes because, Ye's not really talking too much. This other guy's not so interesting. Trump doesn't like Karen because there's history there. So me and Trump are just going back and forth. We're having this great conversation.
What y'all talk about?
So
if you could.
Yeah, totally. So we talked about Truth Social and Twitter. Elon Musk had just bought Twitter. And he's asking me, what do you think about that? And I'm start rattling off stats and facts, and he's real impressed. And then, we had this big strategy meeting the day before, me, Ye, and this other guy. And I was telling Ye how we're going to beat Trump on the debate stage. And I swear I knew this was going to happen. I knew that Ye was going to tell me to say that to him.
Oh,
and I'm thinking, please don't make me say that. Because that's our strategy. That's our playbook. But, he's so childlike and eager. He just wants to say it. And I'm like, bro, that's our playbook. We can't say that. So he's pressing me. He's like, no, tell me what you were saying the other day. And Trump is like, go ahead, tell me. And I said, Mr. President, I think you're the greatest American that ever lived. I said, I'm just a 20, at that time, 20, I'm still 24, I guess. I'm just a 24-year-old guy. I think you're the greatest American. I love you. I got nothing to say to you other than thank you. I'm not here to criticize you. And he says, no, come on, don't be bashful. Tell me. And so I start telling him about DeSantis. I said, you got to attack DeSantis. I said, this guy's a traitor.
Shit. Okay.
I said, and you know what? I said, all these influencers are stabbing you in the back right now. I said, all these Twitter influencers, because this was a couple days after he called DeSantis DeSanctimonious for the first time.
Okay.
And everyone was giving him heat for that.
Yeah.
I said, don't listen to them. I said, you are right. I said, and he deserves that and then some. I said, because you are the reason DeSantis is governor. I said, and the only reason
that's a fact
that he didn't say on the debate stage that he was going to serve his full term is because he's going to challenge you. I said, so your statement and what you said at the rally, I said, I love that. That's what we need to see more of. I said, because you know what? I said, my favorite moment was the first primary debate in 2015, August 15, the Fox News debate. I said, the first question Brett Baer asked, he said, raise your hand if you are not going to take the pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. Because Trump had been saying, if I don't win, I'm going to run as an independent and give it to Clinton. And Trump raised his hand as like a big FU. And he goes, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody, boo, boo.
Yeah.
And Trump goes, I perfectly understand the question. He goes, I have a lot of leverage. And, if I'm going to run, I'll run as a Republican. But otherwise, I got a lot of leverage as an independent. I said, and in that moment, I said, you were willing to let the GOP die. I said, and I love that because we're here for you. I said, we're not here for Kevin McCarthy. I said, we're not here for Ronna McDaniel, the Republicans. I said, we love you. We support you. I said, and this midterm stuff, I said, even your speech, your announcement speech, I said, we want that old Trump back. We support you as a guy because you're an outsider. You're America first. And that really resonated with him. He's like, oh, okay. He goes, this guy's hardcore. This guy really gets me. He says, he does this point like he does the sideways point. This guy really gets me.
This guy gets me. Yeah.
He goes, hey, you're hardcore.
Yeah, he understands the issues. That Trump voice.
Yeah.
Part of the deal. Yo, man. Sorry, continue.
So anyway, so that was the gist of our back and forth. But then the dinner changes when, because then Ye and Trump are talking, and I can't talk too much about that conversation. I can tell you afterward, it'll blow your fucking mind. But anyway, so that's going on. And Karen is kind of like kicking Ye under the table, like, hey, remember what you're here to ask him. Because we set it up. He actually wrote not like a setup. I mean, Ye was planning on asking him to be his vice president.
Right.
Everybody says we set Trump up to get him in trouble. We didn't.
Yeah.
What we wanted to do was Ye wanted to ask him to be his running mate.
Yeah.
That was literally.
So this is what you were originally telling before I want to get more information before we got here. Okay. Yeah. So continue. Sorry.
So,
so he asked him to be my running mate.
Yeah. So, and even before the dinner, I mean, the famous tweet where he says, I forget what he said. He said, Rainey, I can't believe I kept the president waiting and I'm wearing jeans. How do you think he's going to take it when I ask him to be my running mate? That is very yay. That is very nay. He published it after, but he wrote it before. He was going to publish it before.
Okay.
So anyway, so Karen's kicking him under the table like, hey, remember what you came here to ask him? Mm-hmm. And so Ye says, oh, yeah. Would you be my running mate in 2024? And Trump, like, I thought he'd be like kind of jocular and say, oh, ha, whatever. He got pissed.
Oh, really?
And my right hand of God, like, I am not even exaggerating a little bit at all. I knew this wasn't going to happen, but I was like afraid, like he was going to punch me.
Whoa, he was that angry.
I swear. Like, shit. And, obviously that wasn't going to happen. I mean, it wasn't like physically.
Was this towards the end of the conversation?
Yeah, this is at the very end.
This after you showed your support, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
And like, he was exuding so much. And this is what everybody says about him. And I learned it that day. This guy's like, no joke when it comes to the art of the deal, negotiation. Like, he's a master of dealing with people, and so he changed his posture. He crosses his arms, leans forward. And he says to Ye, he goes, you know what? He goes, you can win at a lot of things. He goes, and you can do your music and everything, but you shouldn't run. You'll never win at this. You can't. You think you can win at this? You can't win at this.
Oh, shit. Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
And then and I was like, whoa.
Oh, fuck.
And he turns to me and he goes, you're a pretty smart guy. He goes, I know you work for him, but go ahead, tell him he can't win. Go ahead, tell him. I know you're a smart guy.
Wow.
And I'm looking at him.
Wow.
And I'm looking at Ye.
Talk about a predicament,
right?
Yo.
I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Right there. He said, yo, I ain't playing games. You're not winning. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and I left this part out. So even before he said that, he told 3 stories. And they all had a very clear point. And it was not subtle at all. Trump is like a genius at this. It was so masterful. So Ye, indicates that he's going to run.
What are the 3 stories? You don't have to say specifically.
I'll just list them off.
Well, okay, go ahead.
It was a story about, I think, Kodak Black, who got freed, and was it Sweden?
He pardoned him for his felon charge, yeah.
So it's Kodak Black.
Possession, yeah.
Yeah, and it was the basketball player in China who got charged, and he secured that guy's release.
LeVar Ball. LeVar Ball's son.
Okay, D'Angelo Ball. Okay, yep.
Jello. LeAngelo Ball. Jello, yeah.
Right, there you go, yeah. And it was those 2, and it was a story about Alice Johnson. And the story went something. So he starts out and he goes, I'm not going to tell the full thing, but this is the gist. So he goes, yeah. He goes, are you still with your wife? Are you still attracted to her? You still love her? And he's like, yeah, of course, And he goes, I want you to tell her that she's a disgusting human being. He goes, exact words.
Whoa. To Kim K?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's right, though. She is a disgusting human being.
Well, But here was the justification.
Wow,
He goes,
Trump.
you know what? He goes, I freed Alice Johnson. And then she goes and endorses Biden. She's a disgusting human being. I want you to tell her I said that. He goes, I was like, bro, that's his wife. That's his ex-wife. Then he goes in a story about Kodak Black. And he
I
goes,
thought he meant Kim K. Or did he mean Kim K too?
what do you mean?
No, Kanye's current wife, which is
No, the ex-wife, Kim Kardashian.
okay. So
He said,
point, they're broken up.
Yeah. That's what I meant. So he said Kim K is disgusting,
Yeah.
and then who's the other person? Alice Johnson.
but they freed Alice Johnson. Kim Kardashian helped secure Alice Johnson's
Okay, all right, there we go. Okay, because I remember that she went to the White House to pardon somebody, but I didn't know who it was. Alice Johnson that she got pardoned.
And so he basically said, like, I would never have released her if I knew Kim would have endorsed Biden. And then
there we go.
So this is the moral of the story. Next story about Kodak Black. He goes, I freed Kodak Black, and he told the whole story. And by the way, this is the other thing that was like jarring. This is what made me think he was going to hit us, is because the whole conversation was so cordial. He starts telling these stories and starts dropping F-bombs, like every other word, like a mafia boss. He goes in, he's like, so I told this fucking motherfucker this. And I'm like, this is the president. Like, and you've heard him swear at the rallies. It's kind of kitschy.
I have heard time and time and time and time and time again that Washington, D.C. is more like an episode of Veep than it is like, a more respectable show. And I believe it. I've been around these people. I absolutely believe that everything that Nick is saying right now is true.
Yeah.
But this is like some serious like Casino. It's like Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Just to the story is I would have never freed Kodak Black if I knew how disloyal he was, that he went and said all this nasty stuff after I got him freed.
Are you serious? He did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Same thing after China. He said about the and this one was
it's
even
not easy
better.
to get a presidential pardon either.
No. Yeah. Well, and that's what Trump said, is that he went to great lengths to secure his release because these guys were in real trouble.
What was Kanye doing when he was coming at him like that? Was he just sitting there like?
Well, remember, he wasn't with Kim no more. He's like, yeah, she probably is a fucking.
No, but you could tell he was visibly angry, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's one of these like power plays. You know how these political people are, like it wasn't imminently obvious in that moment that like he was attacking us, that he was sending a very veiled threat.
Yeah.
I think by the end, it was pretty apparent what was going on. Because in the moment, we're like, whoa, he just switched up and is telling this really weird story all of a sudden. But by the end of it, we're like, oh, that's what he meant. And so the third story was about the basketball player. And he said, the basketball player was brought out on the tarmac, because the president was there for the revolution's anniversary or something, big state visit, a lot of flags and everything. And so and this happened at the same time. And Trump said that the Chinese would not free this guy at the same time that Trump left, because they said, you're not going to embarrass the president leaving at this, you disgrace. You're not going to leave the same time he leaves on this big state visit. And so Trump says that after his plane took off, the Chinese brought the basketball player on the tarmac and slapped him across the face.
Really?
The Chinese official did.
Oh, wow.
And said, you embarrass the president. Don't you dare embarrass the president.
Wow.
And Trump said, and the father goes out and thanks everybody other than me. Trump said, I never would have pardoned him. I would have let him rot in China if I knew they were going to do that.
Wow.
Now, what's the moral story in all these cases?
No, Trump did not pardon Snowden. He did not pardon
Assange. Trump did him a favor, and these people embarrassed him and stabbed him in the back. And it's like, and obviously that's relevant to the later conversation about, will you be my running mate?
Will you be my running mate?
And so when Trump says, you can't win this and that. And then he basically threw us out. He's like, what time's your flight? I'll walk you out. It's right across the street.
Wow.
And then refused to take a picture with Ye.
Oh, shit.
Because across the other side of the dining room was that they said the richest banking family in Switzerland or Germany was having dinner. This is Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yay, come get a picture with us. And they said, we want a picture with both. And Trump refused. He's like, oh, you get a picture. He wouldn't get in the picture with Ye after that. He was cool with me. He came up to me and shook my hand. He's like, and he said, I'll see you soon. You're really, he really liked me. He was just mad at Ye, I think.
Damn.
Or maybe Karen.
Wow. Fuck. What was the Secret Service doing? My question, what the fuck were they doing all this time? Were they there? Obviously.
I didn't even really notice them, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, everyone criticized Trump for saying like, wow, they just let anybody in Mar-a-Lago. And like, I mean, we just walked through the front door.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I wasn't paying super close attention. I was kind of nerding out. It's
Of course.
So did Kanye react at all to this? Did he ever say like, "Yo, like relax, like don't talk to me like that," or was it just like, "I'm just take this on the chin"?
He was really taking it on the chin.
Okay.
He was really being diplomatic.
Wow.
And I think he was. We were all just kind of taken aback. Yeah, I mean, it was so shocking because here we are. I mean, it has weight to be there in his presence.
Oh, yeah. You're at his house.
He's the man, you know?
Yeah.
And for him to switch up like that and just bring this intensity 0 to 100, I think we were all like, we got in the car. We were like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, we were all like, yo, that was crazy.
I mean, you know, he became a billionaire for a reason. You know what I mean? He became wildly successful for a reason. He became president for a reason. So, I mean, but damn, I mean, I will say this as a guy that used to work for the government before, you know, as you guys know, used to be with Homeland, whatever. It is very difficult to get a presidential pardon. Rarely ever happens.
But didn't he also pardon A$AP Rocky as well?
You know what? It might have been about A$AP Rocky.
So
yeah, I think I got him confused.
I don't think Kodak was disloyal. I think he actually picked up Trump. I think A$AP was the one that was kind of like, whatever, right?
I think you might be right. Yeah, I'm getting it mixed up. I think you're right. It was A$AP Rocky.
He did pardon Kodak too. So,
yeah.
Okay, Fresh is right. Okay, so
both
it was,
of them, right?
All right.
So, okay, so it was A$AP that he pardoned that turned his back.
Yeah, it was one of them. The one that he was like caught with the knife, I think, in Scandinavia.
That's
so it was A$AP Rocky.
Oh, ran his.
All right, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. It looks like they do a bunch of super chats and stuff, and I don't want to watch that. And like, good for them. Whatever.
Because throughout my life, and
the
throughout
same shit to Tommy Robinson as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
like I've noticed that if you're conservative and you're Caucasian and you're not like super, you know, self-appeasing minorities, they call you a racist and a white supremacist.
Even call black people white supremacists.
Yeah.
If they're supporting the wrong issue, the wrong person.
For those of you who might be new to me, this is something that my regulars hear all the time. The reason they call everyone a white supremacist, it has nothing to do with their skin color at all. It only has to do with capitalism. Systemic racism means capitalism. Whiteness means capitalism. White supremacy means capitalism. Racism means capitalism. They have redefined the term successfully, but they use it in code because socialists speak in code, and they all know what this means, but we don't know what it means because we're going by the old definition of racism. This is why they had to redefine systemic racism in the dictionary to add additional points to it having to do with power, because to them capitalism means power. It's all about a power structure. And if you are confused about what I'm saying, or you're having feelings about me telling you that white supremacy is not about racism because you want to be convinced that you are a poor, oppressed white man, because that's what people like this will tell you, and like all this racist, anti-Semitic bullshit, blah, 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 blah. And he's been fine so far in this stream because he was on his best behavior, okay? I listen to Nick Fuentes when he's not on other people's shows. He is on his best behavior. Anyway, white supremacy, racism, systemic racism, etc., 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 is only about who owns the power structure. That is what Marxists care about. Who owns the power structure? Who is the boss? Who is the landlord? Who is the CEO? Who has private property? Who engages in capitalism? That's what it's about. They are trying to undermine capitalism so they can advance their little Marxist revolution in the country. That is what is going on. If you have questions about this is something I cover very regularly on my channel. In fact, earlier tonight, we did our Socialism Saturday stream, which is a weekly stream where we watch the farthest left of the far left, and I show you exactly how their strategy is ending up in the mainstream and why white supremacy doesn't have anything to do with your skin color, but only has to do with capitalism. If you don't want to do that, you can do happy hours on Fridays, in which we watch a little, not quite socialist, but like more progressive, like woke light, like alt trainings to show you kind of like basic woke 101 stuff. It's like an entry level course for Socialism Saturday, and I talk about these things throughout the week. You can get my book, you can go to my Substack. A lot of my articles are available for free on the Substack, so that information is available. But the number one thing you need to understand is that this is not about white people. They don't care about your skin color. That's why black people can be white supremacists. It is only about attacking capitalism.
And the thing is, like, I'm just not down with that. I've never been down with that. I like black people. I like brown people. You know, I like you guys. You're pretty cool. But I'm not a self-hating white person. I'm not one of these people that thinks that white people are guilty or we're uniquely evil or we have some sort of unique liability for the world's problems like war, slavery, colonialism. I'm white. I'm proud. I like white people. I think America should be a majority white country. Like, I don't think we should change the demographics.
Okay.
And I've been calling out the anti-white bias in the media for a long time, even actually before it was popular. I think now people.
I have new people watching tonight who might not know this rule. You will not use the term anti-white on my channel. You will not use it in the chat. I will block you. The term anti-white comes from white identitarian groups that are trying to get the term adopted in culture to make it easier to recruit more little white identitarians to their group. This is something that I have documented. You can find that documentation on my Substack. I show you exactly how they do it. I show you why they do it. I show you evidence that that's what they're doing. And the problem is that if the term anti-white is used on my channel, it will attract these assholes like a moth to a flame. I don't want to do that. We're having a really nice night. My lights just went off. Is my internet still on? Am I still live on the internet? What the hell? Oh, no. Just my light went off. Apparently, I'm still live on the internet. Excellent. Anyway, that was like the voice of God saying, Carlin, go to bed. But if that term is used on my channel, it will attract these assholes. I don't want that to happen because we're having a nice night here. So let's just chill out. Don't use that term, please. Thank you.
People are talking about it more, but I was one of the first people. Well, I guess when I turned 18, I suppose people have been talking about it for a long time, but politically, I was one of the first major voices out there talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Now, people say, "Oh, well, Nick, your last name is Fuentes. You're a Mexican." What's your response to that?
Well,
the fucking idiots that say that shit.
Well, it's just funny because I know that if I go into like a Mexican neighborhood, like in Chicago, if I go to Little Village and they're all brown and like 4 feet tall and they got black hair, you know what I mean? If I go over there and I go, "Hey, hola, guys. Hey, I'm one of you, right?" Like, they're going to laugh at me.
Yeah.
You know, if I go into, and here's the other thing. If I go into a group of liberals and say, "Hey, guys, like, don't worry, I can say this stuff because I'm not white. I'm Mexican." Like, they would laugh in my face.
Yeah.
But because I go out there and talk about white people, they look at my last name, they say, "Oh, you know, you're not white." Even if I wasn't white, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know, some people consider me not white. I don't care. I feel the same way about
both your
it.
parents Italian?
My mom's Italian. My dad's half Irish, half Mexican.
Okay. So that's where that last name comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, bro, you're definitely Caucasian. I mean, here's the thing. Even Hispanics a lot of times are considered white under the list.
Right.
So it's like, okay. Yeah.
Well, my father grew up white. My father, and he tells me about this, on the census decades ago, there was no Hispanic box.
Yeah.
You were white or black.
Yeah.
And he considered himself white. I mean, he's definitely a darker shade than me for sure. But, you know, I'm pretty fair skinned. So
Is he brown?
I don't want to say he's brown. I mean, he's sort of like
caramel,
off-white, like a little off-white.
Must be like Nick West's father.
So yeah. So they say that you're, and then where does this, label of? Do you think it's all gets lumped in? The white supremacist, neo-Nazi, all that other shit? It gets lumped in just because of that. You think that you don't believe in race mixing? Is that where that comes from?
I think it comes from a lot of things, because I talk about race realism, race and IQ. I talk about race mixing. So it's really a collection of them. I get called that name for any of them. If I said any of them in isolation, I would get called that thing. And, initially I got called that. Surprisingly, I went to this job training in 2017 with Leadership Institute, which is like, they staff all the conservative groups, like Turning Point, every one of them.
Yeah.
And I went there for a job training before I was really known. And the first day I go out there, and they're doing a little icebreaker. They say, go around the room, tell us why you're conservative. And everybody says, well, I like small government. I like freedom and whatever.
Yeah.
And they go to me and I say, well, you know what? I said, and it's prescient right now. I said, I'm a conservative because France is no longer France. Paris is no longer Paris. Our civilization's being destroyed by mass immigration. I said, I'm a conservative because I want to conserve that.
Yeah.
They disqualified me day one. Said, you're a racist.
Wow.
Day one.
What's your views on mass immigration?
Totally against it.
Okay. Can you tell us why?
I think that we could talk about the economic arguments. People talk about it's bad for wages, they take jobs, that kind of thing.
Bigger jobs.
Right. People talk about crime. They say they bring crime. And there are some that say, actually, that's not true. Ron Unz, who I'm a big fan of, he's a big proponent for years that immigrants have less crime.
Yeah.
It's really neither here nor there for me. mass immigration is changing what America is.
Okay.
Because I think that people are not interchangeable. I don't think that white and black people are interchangeable. I think they're different. I think that white and Hispanic people are different. White and Asian people are different. I think that when you look at these civilizations they've created, it's a result of who they are essentially. Like Europe is the way it is because of the European people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Africa is the way it is because of the African people. Asia is the way it is because of the Asian people. The only people that can perpetuate a European civilization are Europeans.
Okay.
And if you change that fundamentally, if tomorrow America is 99% not white, it's going to be a different country.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that benefits. I don't know who that's good for. And I don't think it's right. This is our homeland, and this doesn't mean it's a country only for white people, but it means it's a country that was founded, built, inhabited by white people. There's always been a black minority. There's always been some other minority groups. I think it should remain that way.
Okay.
I think it would be terrible if China were turned into a multiracial country and Russia's a multiracial. And, where's the homeland for anybody? The last thing I'll say is this. France, what's going on right now? Migrants are blowing shit up. These Algerians are freaking out.
Yeah.
And so funny. They put out a statement and they say, we got to evacuate the Jews in France to Israel because if the Muslims take over, it's going to be a bad day. And this is always what's been on the front of my mind. Where are we going to be evacuated to? When America gets taken over similarly, when there's George Floyd 2.0 and they're killing white people and we're 30% of the population, where are we going to get evacuated to? Canada? Canada's going to be 10% white at the end of the century. Australia, same story. Western Europe, same story. Where are we going to go? Africa's full of Africans. Latin America's full of Latin Americans. Asia's full of Asians. Every white country in the world is being buried in immigration and fundamentally diluted, change its identity, change its whole demographic structure. And, that's just wrong. I say that as an American.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm going.
I do agree on certain things what you said regarding, like, for example, let's say immigrants come and they destroy your country, then it's messed up. Let me ask you this, though. Kanye West, did you ask him why he's dating Kim?
Well, we actually talked about that.
Really?
Believe it or not,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Not about Kim, though, about the new wife.
Did you agree?
No, I told him I disagree.
What? Wait, hold on. To his face?
Yeah.
What did he tell you?
So we were at the Waldorf Astoria, and we were in the lobby, and it was just me and him. I forget precisely when this was, but everyone else had gone home. It was just me and him, and he was telling me about the new wife, who I like. She's very nice and she's intelligent. And he's showing me pictures and saying, oh, she's Italian. She's from Australia. And he goes, I really like her because she's an architect. He goes, I like that she's smart. We have these common interests. I love what she posts and this and that. And he goes, well, he actually knew my position on this.
Oh, he did.
Because a lot of people are sending him stuff about me. When people saw me rolling with him, a lot of his friends were sending stuff about me and saying, you can't hang out with this guy. He's a Nazi. It actually just made him like me more. He said that, I said on a show once, I said, I'm Hitler 2, 3, and 4. And he said, oh, I love that Nick said that.
Wow.
So he just got a kick out of that. But he actually knew my position. He said, oh, I know you don't. I know how you feel about that. Because that was one of the first things we talked about on like day one. And I said, yeah. I said, no, I'm not really a fan of that. I think you should marry someone who's black. I think people should marry who they want. I said, obviously it's your prerogative.
Just to be completely clear about my position on this, YouTube, before you give me a strike or pull down this stream or whatever, I think Nick Fuentes is a racist little fuck, but I think showing people what Nick Fuentes is saying is actually more important than people's feelings about what Nick Fuentes is saying, because this is who Nick Fuentes is. This is like what he actually thinks. Now, because they've switched over to Rumble at this point. And so now Nick Fuentes he's not going to be his full self like he is on his show probably, but like he's going to come out a little bit more than he did in the first half.
It's your life and you could do what you like. I said, if you feel strongly about her, I said, it's a pretty unique situation. I would say Ye is a unique case.
Yeah.
Because he's exceptional in many ways. But I told him, those are not my values. We respectfully disagreed. And there's a lot of people that disagree on this. What I point out, though, is it wasn't long ago that everybody felt this way. Like all white people were against interracial dating and marriage, like a generation ago.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I think almost all non-white people are against interracial dating and marriage today. Like maybe the younger generation, I think it's different, but you look at older generations, specifically of Asians, Jews, Hispanics, they all tell their kids to marry within their race and within their ethnicity. They say like, meet a nice Vietnamese girl, meet a nice Korean girl or whatever. Black people too, they get mad when there's like, you talked about Dr. Umar. He's one of them who talks about this.
So it's funny because I never said this on the show before, but even my mom, like in Barbados.
Oh shit!
I'd always bring white girls home. Shows my mom, and she'd be like, "Walter, when do you bring black girl home?" And I'm like,
I didn't know that.
I dated black girls before. Nothing's bad.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, I just preference wise, I prefer this, and I can
Dunkin' Oreos and milk.
Exactly. Cream pies. I can agree that, like, on some level,
wow,
you disagree with my way of life, and Paul is as well. But you can work with people like that. It's fine. So once again, it's an opinion. It's his way of life. You can disagree.
And here's the other thing too. I want to say for all you fucking.
Here's what I'll say. Okay, I vehemently disagree with Nick Fuentes' opinion. I think Nick Fuentes' opinion is bad. However, Nick Fuentes is allowed to believe shitty things. He is allowed to believe things that people find offensive. He is allowed to talk about things that people find offensive. And the thing of it is if people would just learn how to listen to people who they disagree with. I mean, honestly, one of the reasons you'll see me sitting on the internet watching socialism for hours at a time, or even watching this for hours at a time. Listen, there's other things I could be doing right now, like sleeping. It's almost 2 a.m. But you have to be able to develop a tolerance to listening to people that you disagree with and not flying off the damn, like becoming unhinged about it. You just have to be able to do that. And the world would be a better place if we could all just like sit around a table and say, you know what, I think your opinion is really shitty. I do. I think Nick Fuentes' opinion on this and many, 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 many other things is bad. But I listen to Nick Fuentes, A, because I do think that he is eerily intelligent. B, because I also want to see his crazy opinions. I want to actually hear them for myself. I don't want someone else telling me what to think. But also, you build resiliency to listening to people that you disagree with. And guess what? If you can build resiliency to listening to people that you disagree with, even if you disagree with them vehemently and think they're horrible people that really need to just admit that they're gay and get laid already, it's not going to make you mad if you develop resiliency to it. Like, there is no reason for me to be angry at Nick Fuentes or to yell at Nick Fuentes because I just think his ideas are shitty. I'm not going to be his best friend. I'm not going to hang out with him. I'm not going to endorse him. I'm going to talk about how his ideas are shitty and why I think his ideas are shitty, but I'm not going to get angry about it. I'm not going to get stressed out about it. I mean, sometimes I do get emotional and I yell and stuff, but like, there's just no reason. There's no benefit. He's allowed to have shitty opinions and he's allowed to share those opinions. And how much better would the world be if people just, take in the opinions of other people, decide, yes, I agree with that. No, I don't agree with that. There's no need to be rude. There's no need to be bitchy. If someone's not bitchy to you and they're just stating an opinion, and it's not like Nick Fuentes is trying to force other people. Now, if Nick Fuentes ever gets into any position of power in which Nick Fuentes has the ability to create laws, that would fucking terrify me. I don't want Nick Fuentes with any power because I damn well know Nick Fuentes would try to wield that power to legislate a Christian nationalist America First nation. I don't want to live in a Christian nationalist nation. I want to be left alone. I don't care if Nick Fuentes lives by his little Christian nationalist code of conduct. That doesn't bother me at all. It's his life. He can do what he wants. As long as he's leaving me alone and I'm leaving him alone, we should be able to have a dialogue in which we say things that each other would vehemently disagree with and just go, you know what? Whatever. It's not worth getting upset over. Rottweiler, thank you. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. People like Fuentes need to be exposed, not censored, so people can debunk, ridicule him, etc., so he doesn't go underground where his views fester and attract even worse people. And that's exactly what goes on his fucking website. That's exactly what goes on. It's like this, and on Telegram too, man. Telegram is like the bowels of the internet. It is like the worst place of the internet, and it's a guilty pleasure for me to peer into it every once in a while. But like when you exile people into like the far corners of the internet, they all congregate together and they get more and more and more angry. And remember, Nick Fuentes' crowd are incels, so they're already have like pent up frustration that they are desperate to release on something, and then they get each other even more riled up, and especially the ones who are gay but don't want to admit that they're gay, they get each other even more riled up, and there's more and more tension and frustration, and then it needs to manifest, and everything is really angry and really toxic. And this is why the world would be a much better place if Nick Fuentes would just fucking admit that he's gay and get laid already. I'm just saying. Let's continue.
Faggots out there. I am all about free speech. If Nick wants to say fucking, yo, why we got to keep the white race pure, he should be able to fucking say that shit without you fucking pussy motherfuckers out there getting angry.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, bro, that's what this country was founded upon. It's free speech. Do I agree with everything Nick says? No. I want to fuck a bunch of white bitches. But I'm not going to sit here.
Yeah.
I don't like your opinion. I'm going to attack you. No. Civilized people can sit down, have a conversation about this shit. And you know what? I don't agree with that, but your fucking freedom of speech needs to be protected. Someone comes in here and tries to attack Nick because of views, I'll punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Because, yo, his freedom of speech needs to be protected. Fuck, well, just because I disagree with it is irrelevant.
The same way people are gay and they fight for gay rights, listen, that's their prerogative. Once it doesn't involve me, cool.
If you're going to accuse me of obsessing about something, I want you to do a calculation of how many minutes I have been streaming on the internet today, not just in this stream, but in the 3-hour stream I did earlier. I want you to do a calculation of exactly how many minutes I have been streaming on the internet today. And then I want you to take the amount of time that I've pointed out that Nick Fuentes is clearly and obviously gay and is one of the most obviously repressed gay men that obviously and clearly wants a dick in the ass more than any other obviously repressed gay man that I've ever seen in my life. I want you to find out exactly how many minutes I've been talking about that, and then do a calculation for me where you tell me what percentage of my minutes streaming on the internet today have been obsessing about the fact that Nick Fuentes is obviously and clearly gay. I will allow you some time to work out that calculation because I know that's going to require math and calculus and a fucking calculator and stuff like that. But let us know when you have an answer, okay?
So my thing is like, hey, he wants to believe that?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, man.
But I will say this though. So Nick, in your opinion, let's say for example, I don't follow your path of like, dating only black women and I date white women. Should you preach that to people or just say, you know what, this is my opinion, do what you want?
Well, I preach it because it's my values. I think that people should share those values because, and I'll say one thing about it before I address that specifically. The one thing I want to touch on is we have to also acknowledge that it's very much a double standard. Like when Jews, Asians, Hispanics, or blacks say, I want you to marry a nice whatever girl or a nice to get whatever
Even
husband.
my family says that shit.
Yeah.
Agreed, yeah.
And they say that. And not only that, but in mainstream culture, it's almost people treat it like it's amusing. They're like, oh, that's so quaint and colloquial. When white people do it, it's like, what are you, a fucking white supremacist?
Yeah.
What, you hate every other race? You don't want to marry a non-white person? You're opposed that? What, you some kind of evil person, bigot, prejudice? Every other group does it. It's fine. So I'll just say that. But in addition to that, because that is the question. People always say like, well, is that just something that's a personal decision? You keep it to yourself or do you encourage other people? And I would say that's a value that's important to me. And I tell white people, I think white people should stay with their own. I think it's important. And here's why. It's part of my view on race. I think race is like your extended family because it's genetic similarity. What is your race but people that are genetically similar? They share ancestry. They share heritage. They share culture. And so I want to find a woman, eventually, I want to find a wife that she values that. That's important to her. That we look the same, that we have similar ancestry, heritage, culture, all those things. And I think those things are important. I think it's important that people...
Is that going to be Italian culture, Nick? Is it going to be Irish culture? Or is it going to be Mexican culture? because you yourself are a mix of like 3 different ethnicities. So which culture are you going for? Are you going to marry a wife that's a combination of all 3 and also a virgin? Is that what we're talking about now? How many similarities do you need to have with your wife who is also a virgin? Is it okay if she's just Irish? Is it okay if she's just Italian? Is it okay if she's just Mexican, or does she need to be Mexican and Italian, or Mexican and Irish, or whatever your dad was, or just like Mexican and Italian? Like what combination of ethnicities do you want? Now, do you guys see how the problem starts? It does almost hurt him to say wife because he never wants to sleep with a woman ever.
Value those things. Like I'm not going to say like, well, if you don't value something that I think is deeply important, whatever. I think people should think those things are important. You don't, that's fine. And I have civil conversations with people who do race mixing, people that are adulterous, people are promiscuous, people that are homosexual, transsexual. And I could say, I think those things are wrong. That doesn't comport with my value system. At the end of the day, there always has been, and there always will be some degree of mixing within a country demographically and with intermarriage. But historically, it's always been very low. You always see a very low rate. Traditionally, it's like 6% or even lower sometimes.
Oh, it's a reflection of
and it's
travel.
really only like an American and first world thing. You look at other countries.
Yeah.
You look at Japan. You look at these more homogenous countries. Low crime rates, and there's no race mixing.
Yeah.
Steven, thank God I hadn't taken a sip of my
Nick,
water yet, because I would have
you
spit it out. I would have
100% white?
spit it out big time.
Well, I mean, not necessarily, no.
So by those standards, technically speaking, you're not gonna find a wife that's gonna be all white as well, like you, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
So basically, we are all race mixing at some point.
Well, and just because there's like different shades of red doesn't mean there's red. I mean, just because there's like, you can mix red and blue and get purple. These isn't a purple doesn't mean there's not red and blue. You know what I mean? And so, that's true, I think, up to a point. But if people looked at me on the street, what would they say? Would they say, you're 15% indigenous and 85% European? They'd say you're a white guy, And if people saw you, I don't know, your genetic mix, but I'd say you're black.
Bro. You can't argue that, bro. I'm black as hell, bro.
Chris, what'd you say, Chris? Nigger. Yo, well, Rumble, they can just say it with your chest. Nigger. Yeah, there you go. Yo, and here's the thing. Again, like the freedom of speech thing is big, because my thing is this. If you got people of all these other, and this is people call me an Uncle Tom for saying this shit or whatever, but if my parents going to run around and say, you need to marry a Sudanese woman, or your mom could say, bring back home a black woman, or they should say, marry an Asian woman, blah, blah, blah. Or you got Dr. Umar, you need to marry a black woman. I think white people should be able to say, you need to bring home a white girl. But if they say it, it's a problem. That's my thing, is that there's this crazy double standard where Caucasians are always insulted for being proud of their race. Like, if you say black power, fantastic. If you say white power, oh, that's a problem. You know what I mean? So my thing is
just at this point of free speech.
Yeah.
So Dave Rubin posted a report today, and Kyle Becker actually tweeted this. He said, Michigan House approves anti-free speech bill. Incorrect pronouns could cost you $10,000 or jail time.
Oh God.
So
in Michigan,
free speech is crazy,
bro. Yeah,
like right now, that's the start of it.
Well, that's not going to get.
It's going to become worse.
So what are your thoughts on free speech, Nick?
Well, there's layers to
that Michigan thing. Someone needs to sue Michigan about that immediately, because that will end up in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to strike that down. It is actually a godsend that they passed that law, because it gives it a chance to be litigated, and then the Supreme Court can strike it down once and for all, because that law is bullshit. It is absolutely not going to pass First Amendment muster. And to be honest, with the makeup of the current Supreme Court, if they did not strike down that law, there would be a big effing problem. Like a really big, like that's like the ball game. That's it. Like they irrevocable blow to free speech. So someone needs to sue immediately. That would be really great. Someone, maybe Nick Fuentes, can go to Michigan and go get himself arrested for using the wrong pronouns, and then sue her ass, and then take it all the way to the Supreme Court. And Nick Fuentes would absolutely win if he did that. And then Nick Fuentes could be the great savior of free speech in this country. I think this is an excellent idea. I think Nick Fuentes is obviously the man for the job. Nick Fuentes needs to fly to Michigan tomorrow to go call someone the wrong pronouns so he can get his ass arrested and get some sort of state punishment for it, so that he can sue the state of Michigan and Gretchen Whitmer and go to the Supreme Court and win. Nick Fuentes would be doing a great service to all of us if he took one for the team and went and took care of that. That would be pretty great.
to it. It's been coming in waves. I'm talking about censorship. And it really started with the Trump election in 2016. I mean, there's always been censorship. It's always been a regulated press. But what happens in 2016, which is interesting, 2016 was the first presidential election when you had this high adoption of both social media and smartphones. People don't realize that. You know, you had internet, you had email, you had desktop, but iPhone comes around, what, like 2009, 2010?
Yep. Facebook
around the same time. And you look at the adoption in 2012, and it's about half for both of what it was in 2016. So, and 2016 was sort of foreshadowed by some of these other developments like Gamergate, culture war on the college campus. What I mean to say is that the arrival of social media on the smartphone basically heats everything up.
Yeah.
It's decentralized information. There's no gatekeepers. Print, radio, television, for the most part, all highly centralized. Social media, you get citizen journalists, you get the forums, you get 4chan, you get Twitter. You know, ISIS is chopping off heads. At the same time, you got Gamergate going on. You got, you know, people dropping red pills. And they started to freak out about this in 2016. If you recall, the day after the Trump election, November 8th, 2016, Facebook and Google and all of them come out. And it was actually leaked audio. I think Breitbart reported this, where they said, we can literally never let this happen again. Like, Trump got elected because of so-called fake news. That's where it originated. We can never let that happen again. We need censorship. And that's actually fake news was what Facebook called it. Facebook, they tested this policy where they were going to put a preview on Breitbart or InfoWars articles and say, this is fake news. This is flagged as fake news. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where Trump flipped it on its head in the first press conference and said, you know, you are fake news. Right. But so he actually appropriated it. And anyway, basically ever since that point, it's been coming in waves. And first it was Twitter bans and Facebook bans. And, you know, I got banned from those. Then it was payment processors, PayPal, Stripe.
Damn.
PayPal and Stripe are 95% of the payment gateways on the internet. PayPal's 92%, Stripe is like 3%.
Wow.
It might have changed since then. That's statistics old, but it's most of the market share. Then they get you in the banks. You know, they debank you, which has happened to me also. You know, I got banned from Chase Bank. I got banned from Bank of America. I applied for a bank account at Chase Bank. They literally told me, don't even fucking bother. I applied.
Wow.
And before I could submit the application, a window popped up and said, like, sorry, like, you cannot create an account. Yeah.
So I gotta, because I've always wondered about this when they like debank you and going back, right? I guess it's time to go into the JQ time, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So what led to you getting debanked specifically?
It was, it's hard to say because I had been banned. I guess the first bank I was banned from was Bank of America. So it was really, the thing is, though, they don't tell you. It's after January 6th.
America First.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Like, what did you say? Like, what did you say that, like, because I remember you said that you started asking these questions, going back to our original situation here. You started asking these questions, right? Because Obama didn't sign an executive order to give funds to Israel, right? And you actually agreed with that. One of the things you agreed with. And then you started asking these questions. Take us through that, like, and I guess through the path, and then what led to the debank and everything else.
Well, the timeline of it was I lost my PayPal first. I think that was the first thing I got banned from was 2018. I want to say September 2018. I got banned from YouTube in February 2020. I got banned from Bank of America last summer, or maybe it was summer 2021, I think. And the thing is, though, they don't tell you. I mean, they just pull the plug. Like, they tell you it's a reputational risk. They give it to you in a check. You have to go and arrange for it to be transferred out. They say you have 30, 60, 90 days to transfer it out. And if you don't, they send you a check in the mail. Here's your money. Here's your money, bitch. You know?
Wow.
And I got banned from local banks.
How'd you find out?
National. They send you a letter in the mail, first class. And they literally send you a letter and say, we're closing your business checking account, your personal checking account, because you're a reputational risk to the bank.
Wow. Okay, so that's why they literally just say because you're a reputational risk.
Right.
Question: do you get your money back?
Yeah, you get the money.
How? In a check?
Yeah, you can. Will you either transfer it out or they send a check to you in the mail?
Got it.
After they close it, they give you a little time. Like, I got kicked out of this bank. I want to say like at the end of last year, and they told me you got 30 days to get it out. And that was when the Yay 24 stuff was going on. So I just didn't even get the letter. And so the lady calls me and she goes, hey, you still haven't gotten your money out. And I said, yeah, I've been in California. She goes, well, no one's told me anything. So, I'll give you another 60 days. I said, okay.
Shout out to her, man.
Right. So I transferred most of it out. I think I still have that bank account.
Oh shit!
Because they just didn't get on her ass about it. But that
Same
wasn't the
thing,
case.
letter of reputational risk.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
reputational
Bank of
risk.
America, all that. And then what did you say that led to that specifically? Do you know?
They don't tell you, you know, they don't tell you specific thing, but that was never a problem until 2021. So maybe it was the Capitol because I was there at January 6th.
Oh,
Could be that.
Okay.
So if you can't bank at a bank,
That's what it was, bro. 100%.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
what it was.
It's a law enforcement thing, I think.
what do you do with your money? I mean, you don't have to say on air, but like, how would you like combat that if you can't bank at a bank?
Well, I mean, I just literally, it's like a shell game. I was just moving it from bank to bank. And I mean, ultimately, I'm going to run out of banks. I have an account.
I'm going to run out of banks.
Literally.
No, dude. You know what's scary? If you can't put your money in a bank, right?
Yeah.
For example, let's say you got to buy a property or get a loan. Dude, you can't use your bank to leverage that. So that means you're fucked. Literally.
And I was fucked because right after the Capitol, the FBI froze my money because this is a long story, but after the Capitol, the DOJ came in and froze all my cash in my bank account.
Wow.
I literally couldn't pay my bills for like 2 weeks, a couple months actually. And my credit score got obliterated because you start falling behind on stuff and my credit score was like 560 or something.
Under what authority were they? What did they cite when they did you get a letter?
No, I didn't get a letter. I didn't even know how it got frozen. And I produced a documentary about this with a buddy of mine, Paul Escondon.
Yeah.
So it was a really bizarre story. And it's so weird. Like, you may not even believe me, but my right hand of God, this is the truth. In December 2020, so a month before the Capitol, I get an email that says, hey, I just sent you some Bitcoin. Check your wallet. Because I have my Bitcoin address on my D Live page. I was on D Live. I go, okay. The guy sent me 13 Bitcoin.
Wow.
Which was worth 20 grand at that time. So it was like $250,000.
Wow.
What the fuck? And so I emailed the guy back. And I never had a correspondence with him. I had emailed him in August. He said, in August, he sent me, I think, a few $100 or something like that. Said, happy birthday. You know, here's a few $100 in Bitcoin. That was our only correspondence. So I'm going, what's going on? Am I reading this right? So I email him back and I'm like, hey, man, thanks. You want to get on a call? Whatever. I never hear from him again. Totally bizarre situation. Well, some obscure, I don't know, it was an Antifa or something like that, was tracking my wallet, because you could track the inflows and outflows.
Yeah.
And put out a report, I think in late December. And they said, hey, this guy just got a conspicuous donation.
Oh, it's on the fucking chain link.
Yeah, it's on the blockchain.
The blockchain. I'm sorry.
Right,
yeah, blockchain.
So then the Capitol happens. And I'm there at the Capitol. And by the way, so this is just like the wrong place, wrong time to the max. I never went in the building. Okay. I never went into the Capitol. I was outside. But
that's obvious. They would have charged you if that was, they would have loved to do that.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And they would have loved nothing more. The day of the Capitol, some fucking journalist took a screenshot from a buddy of mine's live stream because not my friend anymore, but a friend of mine was in the Capitol live streaming, and there's this like pixelated guy in the background
that looks like you.
Looked like me. But not really, because I was wearing a suit and tie and a jacket, and this guy was wearing a scarf and a beanie and totally different outfit. But
that
some
guy
fucking
did look
journalist
like Nick
says,
Fuentes.
here's Nick
that.
Fuentes in Nancy Pelosi's office. Here's a picture.
Wow.
70,000 likes. 70,000 likes later. And this FBI affiliate who investigates Bitcoin called Chainalysis puts out a report and says, oh, it turns out Nick Fuentes, who was inside the Capitol and brought his followers there, got this big Bitcoin donation a month before. It gets better. It gets way better. The story hasn't even started. So who sends the Bitcoin? Well, they do some research about where the money came from, the wallet that it came from. And they find out it's this French hacker. It's this hacker from the country of France.
What?
He's got a blog. He's got a website. He left a suicide note the day that he sent the Bitcoin.
What?
And the suicide note says that he has this chronic illness. It's the deadliest, most painful illness known to man, but it's uncurable. It's some neurological condition. They say it's the most painful thing, no cure. And he said that he's resolved to commit suicide because they can't cure it. He's made this fortune in Bitcoin that he made through his hacking career. That's how he was paid. And he says that since he was diagnosed, he started watching content. And he starts watching guys like me and Andrew Anglin and others. and says, I want to bequeath my fortune to people that are going to save the West because,
Wow.
I identify all these problems and blah, blah, blah. And so he sent half to me and half to about a dozen other people, like Ethan Ralph, Anglin, Jared Taylor, whoever, V. Dare, Patrick Casey. And anyway, so this looks really
my
bad.
God.
Okay,
And here's the thing.
like-
I'm putting my Fed hat back on and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, this is.
Patrick Casey, by the way, legitimate white identitarian.
Now I see why they froze your money.
Yeah.
100%.
So they see a large sum in crypto from a foreign country to a guy that was placed at
Did
the
it touch your
Capitol.
bank account? Did you? Oh yeah, you put it into your.
Because I sold some of it. Yeah, I sold some of it.
Oh
So,
my God damn it!
game over.
Yeah. Because guys, just so that people understand the laws, once illicit funds, right, whether alleged or not, touches
Your account.
legitimate money, whole
All
account
of
is
it.
frozen, man.
But you know what's crazy?
Fuck.
Look at Andrew Tate. That's what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
You're saying trafficking illegal money
Yeah.
touches the account. They just take all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, dude, talk about bad luck. So you think you're in the Capitol. You're not in the fucking Capitol. Then on top of that, you get $250,000 of Bitcoin from a suspicious source from a foreign country
A month before.
a month before.
So, well, and then, and I wasn't in the Capitol.
Was he Muslim too?
He
the
was
French guy?
Mexican. So,
Okay, all right.
There you
I was
go.
about to say, if he was Muslim too, it was a rap.
Yeah.
Oh, Patriot Act! He's a terrorist!
Right.
You know? But,
You mean
sorry.
the guy that they caught or the French guy?
The French guy.
No, he was French.
Okay.
Wait
but
a minute.
Like full-on French, not
Yeah.
like a foreign national? Okay.
100%
But if
right.
he was Algerian,
Yo.
though.
Yeah.
That just hit me. What if the establishment planted a mole, or for example, this pseudo real person to send you money, and they're actually like Muslim or certain them boys, and it's kind of like
If it was
that-
them boys, he wouldn't be in trouble.
well, true, but
Yeah.
no. Let's say it's Muslim, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's say
If it was a Habibi, yeah, it's a problem.
sent him the money or
Mhm.
anybody the money like that,
Yeah.
they could set you up.
Yeah, some people have said that. I got a buddy of mine who he has a really good Substack. His name's Charles Johnson. He's like an intelligence spook, and he said something to that effect. He said, "You're probably set up.
Yeah.
Like somebody
Thank
probably
God you
arranged
didn't go
that."
in the Capitol,
Yeah,
man.
bro.
Fuck,
Yeah,
bro.
I would have been.
Dude, in my head, I'm
screwed.
like, oh my God. No wonder. Like, they had all the perfect lines, like, to freeze your account, man.
Yeah, it was terrible. And
So how long was it frozen for?
it was I can't comment on it because it's still an active investigation. So I don't even really want to talk about it because it's a grand jury.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Did they subpoena you?
No, but when they freeze the money, so I don't know the whole process, but they said it's grand jury's involved. They said I'm a target of investigation. So that's the thing. People shit on me because I didn't tell everybody my money was frozen.
Uh-huh.
And then there's some people say, oh, he got his money unfrozen. Why didn't he say anything? And it's like, I'm under a grand jury investigation. I can't be going and giving freaking updates every week,
But you
But-
got your money now.
I can't comment
Okay,
on the state of
never
things.
mind.
kinda legit.
Holy fuck.
Well, and so this happens. I get put under
Did they
investigation.
interview you?
No, they never interviewed me.
The FBI agents that never came to talk to you?
No.
Don't
So
fucking
knock
say
on
shit.
wood. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I might be okay.
Yeah.
Um,
You got a lawyer?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
And
good,
that
good.
costs a fortune. But
Yeah.
so they freeze my money. And it was so traumatic because, I like to stay up all night sometimes and I do my show.
Tell
I
them
stay
pound
up all
sand when they
night.
show up, bro.
Yeah, no,
Pound
for
sand,
real.
fuck you guys.
Yeah, I know all about their tricks and everything. My lawyer said the same
Don't
thing.
say shit.
But it's late January 21. I'm up all night and my life is already in free fall. I get banned from my payment processing. I get banned from D Live. I get banned from everything, Instagram, Facebook.
Was D Live another streaming platform?
Yeah. And
Okay.
I had 60,000 subs. I was getting 10K
ban you
viewers
there
a night.
too?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not even a main platform either.
No, I mean, that was like an alt
That's
platform.
what I'm saying. It's alt.
Yeah.
And that's what led to Cozy TV.
Right. So it was after that I made Cozy TV.
Yeah, throw his link up, man. Bro, now y'all know why you don't gotta fuck with bitches, man. Yo, my man is out here, dealing with adversity and overcoming, man.
Yeah. You don't know the half of it. I mean, and anyway, so then I got subpoenaed though. I got subpoenaed by Congress. And that's when it was reconfirmed that I'm still under investigation.
I remember.
Did you
there
take the fifth? You
Yeah,
didn't
and
say shit?
everything, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
There was a
Okay, good.
video being played at this hearing or meeting with you and Sneeko. You
Mhm.
remember that one?
Yeah.
Was that it?
No. I got subpoenaed by the
No, they
House
called
Select
him in.
Committee.
He had to come in and talk. They put him under oath, and yeah, if they subpoenaed you, that means they put you under oath and they asked you questions, and you
Yep.
said no.
Yeah,
Damn.
they deposed me with Adam Kinzinger was there, and the one of the big or actually he's a Republican, but he's like a turncoat. And but yeah, I mean, it was actually kind of baller. I mean, I don't like to be in legal peril. You know, my lawyer, it's so funny because my lawyer is actually.
Bro, they did to you what they did to the mafia.
Yeah, 100%.
Literally, when they were, uncovering La Cosa Nostra and everything, they brought them in, made them they all took the fifth, of course, but wow.
Well, and the goal of that was to unearth all the communications because they're trying to build a case against Trump and the others. And so that's why they subpoenaed everybody's communications because they want to map out the network. You know, they want to establish conspiracy probably for a lot of these guys. And anyway, my lawyer is kind of like a little bit of a lib, and he's like convinced that I want to be charged because this will be good for my career. I'm like, dude, I don't want to be charged with conspiracy. Like,
fuck that.
But these liberals, they think Roger Stone's behind everything.
Like, if you're gonna talk about it, because you're off, you can fly now. Like, but why the hell did they have you on the fucking no-fly list?
Well, so they told me that it was because during COVID, I like a week before the Capitol, a few weeks before the Capitol. It was in December, I think.
So was it after the riots that they put you on the no-fly list?
Yeah, after the riots. But the justification was before. They said that in December 2022, I got in a big fight with the flight attendant over the mask. Because it's during the mask mandate.
Man!
They're like, put your mask over your nose. And I got kicked off like a Southwest flight or something.
Yeah.
I was able to fly a bunch of times since then. Then after the Capitol, I get slammed on the no-fly list. And I
How'd
put
you
in...
find out?
Well, that's the thing. I tried to fly, and
I show up at the airport.
Yeah,
they let you buy the ticket.
Oh yeah, they don't tell you.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. That's a bullshit part. Because I go out. This is May 21. I was flying to this rally. I was doing a big rally in Florida about this tech censorship bill that DeSantis passed, and I show up early to the airport. And I wasn't able to check in on my phone because I fly all the time. I'm on TSA pre-check. I'm on the gold, whatever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, because I travel a lot.
No, TSA pre-check. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck?
So I'm like, I try to check into my flight on my phone and it won't do it. It says check in at the kiosk. I go, okay. I go to the kiosk, try to check in. They go, well, we can't print your boarding pass. Go to the counter. I go to the counter. I say, hey, I can't check in on my phone. I can't check in on my kiosk. What's going on?
Yeah.
And they go, okay, well, what's your reservation number? What's your name? They look it up. And then she goes, oh, okay. Picks up the phone, calls TSA. Okay. She's on the phone for 45 minutes.
Wow.
And she tells me, I'm sorry, sir, you are not able to fly today. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? What do you mean? Like, is it TSA? Is it the airport? Is it the airline? I'm like, what's going on? She goes, I can't tell you anything else. You can't fly today. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, can I buy a ticket from United? Because it's an American flight. She goes, all I can tell you is it's like Kafka-esque. All I can tell you is you're not allowed to fly today.
That's some bullshit right there.
Airline?
That's
is it
some
O'Hare?
Bullshit.
Okay. So I go to the United terminal. I buy a ticket. I go.
For the record, I remember when this happened, and I think I was actually one of the only people to come out and say Nick Fuentes shouldn't have been put on the no-fly list. And you can fact check me on that. You can go back and look at my Twitter. I tweeted it at the time because this is some bullshit. It really is. The government should not be able to prevent people from traveling. That is that. I mean, even the worst people in the world, I don't care. He's still this is a private contract between him and an airline. If an airline wants to sell him a ticket and fly him from point A to point B, the government should have no effing say in it at all.
Go through same deal. Wow. Can't check in. Can't check in. Go to the desk on the phone for 45 minutes. Check again. 45 minutes. I go home, I tweet about it. I don't expect anybody to pay attention because I'm already blacklisted, ostracized. Nobody gives a shit about my struggles because I talk about the Jews. So I put out
Also, fun fact, I never even interacted with Nick Fuentes on Twitter, and he preemptively blocked me at some point. And I don't know why. And this is obviously before Nick Fuentes got banned on Twitter. But I don't know what I did to get blocked by Nick Fuentes. But someone sent me a tweet from his account one day, this a long ass time ago. And I went to look for it and I was blocked. And I was like, what the hell did I do to get blocked by Nick Fuentes? This is before I was not really even saying anything. I don't think that controversial back in the day. But I did defend Nick Fuentes when he got put on the no-fly list.
Tweet, I go, well, I can't come to the rally because I'm on the no-fly list, I think. And it blows up. Everybody's talking about it. And then people start saying, well, where's the proof? You're a liar. And I go, well, I didn't record it. I didn't think to record it because, I'm expecting to get on a plane.
Yeah.
So I buy another ticket at Midway, the other airport in Chicago, from Southwest, the third airline. And I think, well, surely if I'm at a different airport, different airline, different destination, different time of day, if I can't go on this flight, I can't fly.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened. But this time I recorded it. And she accidentally said no fly list. I have the recording because I was recording. And the guy was giving me grief about it. He's like, oh, you recording? I'm like, no, I'm not recording. But I was. I'm holding my phone like this.
Yeah.
And the girl said something like offhand. She's like, something, no fly list. I said, what? No fly list? She goes, oh, I don't know. You could talk to the TSA down there. And I do, and they don't help me. And anyway, so I talked to my lawyer that was handling the money freeze.
Yeah.
And they tell him, or actually, no, I'm sorry. Alex Jones put me in touch with Norm Pattis. Norm Pattis is a big lawyer for Alex Jones and some other high-profile guys.
Because they probably put AJ on a no-fly list too, huh?
They didn't. Point. They never did.
They never did?
No,
okay.
but he was interested in the case. You want to help me out?
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Alex Jones, man.
Yeah, he helped me out. He's a good guy. So I filed, there's a form you can file, believe it or not. If you think you're on the no-fly list, you fill out a form. It's called the TRIP, Traveler Redress Inquiry Program. So you submit an application. And I called the TSA because there's a number. And I said, hey, I told the same story. I said, am I on the no-fly list? They said, well, we can't tell you because that's classified law enforcement information. They don't even tell you. Wow. Everybody thinks you get a letter that says, hey, you can't fly. You don't.
Yeah.
They don't tell you, even if you're on it.
Wow, bro. That's fucking crazy, man. I mean, that's typically reserved for people that are like terrorists and shit. Like,
right.
So you're telling me that you got into altercation before, during the pandemic because you didn't wear your mask. And then it actually took effect where you couldn't get on the plane after the riots.
Right. Yeah. So they sent me a letter in March and said, you've been removed from the no-fly list. This was last year. They said, we took you off the no-fly list. And they told me the reason, which was that.
The January 6th.
And then get this.
When you never even went to the fucking Capitol.
Right. Well, they didn't say January 6th. They said the flight attendant thing. They said you were on there for this. And here's the best part.
That's bullshit. They just use that as an excuse.
I know.
That's really what it was.
But then everybody attacks me for it. So then Max Blumenthal, who is he's the son of Sidney Blumenthal. Sidney Blumenthal's like Bill Clinton's hatchet man.
Okay.
His son, Max Blumenthal, they're Jewish, by the way. And they got, these guys roll with like the SPLC. This guy got the SPLC to issue a retraction. SPLC's got a $500 million war chest. This guy got him to issue a retraction. So he's got some juice,
Yeah.
And anyway, so this year, Max Blumenthal, he has his publication. No, I'm saying just generally, just to give you an idea of, he's got some clout. So this guy, and this was never a big issue. I mean, I said I was on the no-fly list. First, they don't believe me. Like, oh, you're full of shit. You're not on the no-fly list. Then I record it. Then no one cares. Then I say, hey, I finally got off the no-fly list, and
AJ's lawyer helped you with that one, or going through TRIP, I guess.
So yeah, we wound up not going to trial for this because the TRIP, got me off the list, so it was moot.
Nice.
But anyway,
and you're here now.
Yeah, so I was able to fly here. But so all is said and done, and then this year, this Max Blumenthal and his wife write a massive hit piece about me in their publication with the help of Tucker Carlson.
What?
Wow.
No shit.
Saying that, oh, Nick actually isn't canceled because you see, when he got his money frozen, it's actually about this. And when he got put on the no-fly list, it's actually about this and blah, blah, blah. They write this massive 3-part, 10,000-word hit piece. This is Sidney Blumenthal's son and wife. And here's the best part. I get a call. I'll say it now. I never said this on my show before. I get a call from Michelle Malkin, who's a major legend, conservative writer, author. She tells me that Tucker Carlson, before this hit piece comes out, she's telling me Tucker Carlson called me and is grilling me about you, saying, hey, we're all really worried about Kanye. We're all really worried about Kanye. What's going on with him? Well, is Nick Fuentes behind this? Has Nick Fuentes made him an anti-Semite?
Oh,
Nick Fuentes, is this?
Let me guess, this is after he made his comments on Drink Champs?
After the Alex Jones.
After Alex Jones. Okay.
And so they're trying to set me up as the patsy for Kanye. They're trying to set me up as the fall guy for this whole thing. Tucker's calling Michelle and saying, hey, and he's recording it. She says that he sounds like he's nervous, like he's recording it. He's asking these weird pointed questions because she says he never calls her. She'll text him occasionally, say, hey, take a look at this, that, or the other. Tucker, out of the blue, calls her up, asking about me, asking about Kanye, asking about if I'm a Fed and all this stuff. I find out later, Tucker Carlson is working with Max Blumenthal, Cindy Blumenthal's son, Cindy Blumenthal, Bill Clinton hatchet man, on this hit piece.
This is why I want nothing to do with like the political space or like the political commentary space ever again, because it is the most like incestuous, ridiculous, like just backstabby, everyone out for themselves. Everyone will throw you under the bus in a minute. There are no loyalties. There is nothing. There are no authentic people. Like, I cannot remember one single person that I met that I would consider to be like an authentic person that like I would actually trust with my secrets or things like that. Now I made mistakes. I made fucking big mistakes. I'll tell you what. But like any person who actually wants to be in this space, I have no choice but to judge them as like a horrible person, because that really seems to be the only type of person that is attracted to this space. There is so much douchebaggery behind the scenes, and what I'm particularly pissed off of in this particular instance is that these assholes actually have me defending Nick goddamn Fuentes. I don't want to be defending Nick Fuentes. I don't like Nick Fuentes. I think Nick Fuentes' ideas are awful. So why is it that the douchebaggery perpetrated by these assholes actually offends me more than any bullshit that Nick Fuentes has done on this show? Actually, to be honest with you, like, I haven't even been doing commentary that much because Nick Fuentes is not saying crazy things. There are some things that I vehemently disagree with, and I've noted when I vehemently disagreed with them, but like, I'm not actually really feeling the need to rebut a lot of what he's saying because, you know, it's like, the majority of this podcast has not actually been that controversial. It's actually been interesting. I think it's been very interesting to hear what it was like to work for Kanye West. I think it's been very interesting to hear like this whole like Tucker Carlson, Max Blumenthal hit piece for no good reason. Like I think that this stuff is interesting. And one of the things I do appreciate about Nick Fuentes is that you do learn a lot from him about how the game is played. He's very smart about it. He really is. And for that reason, I do think he's worth listening to alone, because I think it's important that we understand how the game is played and what bullshit, nonsense, shenanigans happen behind the scenes all the time for no good reason. Don't like Nick Fuentes? Fine, I don't like him either. But why are you dicking around doing these do you have nothing better to do with your time than a hit piece on Nick Fuentes? The thing is, it's not as though like Carlin, are you saying that Nick Fuentes doesn't deserve to have a hit piece written on him? Well, okay, fine. I guess like Nick Fuentes does a lot of stupid shit and probably that should be called out. However, are there bigger problems in the world than Nick Fuentes? Yes. There are so many bigger problems in the world. And you can't get these people to focus on the actual problems in the world because they're too bent out of shape because of bullshit like this. I would have much rather Max Blumenthal and Tucker Carlson worked on some big goddamn project about what's going on in the schools and the actual policies that exist in the schools and explaining that to parents rather than work on a fucking Nick Fuentes hit piece. The schools thing would have a lot more impact. Would help a lot more people. Why aren't you doing that? If you actually care about the things that you claim to care about, then why are you spending next to no time on things that are actually important? But you're taking time out of your day to write a 10,000 word hit piece on Nick Fuentes and grill Michelle Malkin for hours? Like, are you shitting me? What a colossal waste of time and energy. I don't know how much longer we're going to watch for, guys, because it's almost 3 a.m. where I am. But if you're up late with me tonight, I do appreciate it. Please mount that like button for me, and we'll go for a little while longer anyway. I want to hear the rest of this story.
Piece, which, again, 10,000 words, 3 parts. They're trying to attack my valor. Mm-hmm. And then the next day, a campaign goes up on this app called Influenceable. You ever hear of this?
No.
Influenceable is this new app where they pay influencers, conservative influencers, under the table to promote these campaigns. So if like some influencer wants, Elijah Schaffer and Bryson Gray and these guys to promote something, they'll go through Influenceable. It's like a medium to pay creators to do advertising campaigns.
Okay.
A buddy of mine sends me one of the campaigns from Influenceable that got put up. Someone put up $100,000 after this hit piece was written to shill this hit piece.
What?
They put up a campaign. They said, we're going to give
shit.
Influenceable $100,000. That's the pot. That's the pot money.
Really?
And influencers will be paid to tweet out the link to this article and put out the hashtag Fed Fuentes.
Wow.
I really want everyone to hear what Nick Fuentes just said, because this happens all the time, where a lot of times when this is why you never, ever, ever trust influencers. I promise you guys, I will never do this bullshit. I don't consider myself to be an influencer and don't want to be an influencer, but like, I would never do this bullshit, but a lot of them do, where influencers that that probably some of you watch will just be tweeting out shit because they're getting paid money to do it. And look in the links when you click on an influencer's links, like your favorite influencer, just make sure you look at the actual URL. See if there's any sort of like little gobbledygook attached to the end of the URL, because if there is, that's like some code that's sending information back to whatever website saying that so and so tweeted out XYZ thing. You know? So just everyone be really careful with what you read from people. Always check the receipts for yourself. Do not trust anything that anyone says. That includes me. This is why I always try to give you guys receipts. Anytime I say something, I have information to back it up, and then you can look at the information and you can consider whether or not you believe that information or trust that information, but I will always give you the receipts so you can decide for yourself. Do not trust anyone on the internet, because the vast majority of them are lying shills, grifters who will do and say absolutely anything that they need to make money.
Yep. So I put these guys on blast. I go out and say, what's going on? You got Max Blumenthal working with Tucker to do a hit piece on me. It's in this weird publication. Then there's this $100,000 bounty going out on, they're putting money out there, serious money to smear me.
What the fuck?
I go, what's going on? So I put this all over Telegram, and then it disappears. All of a sudden, the campaign disappears. And that the brother of the CEO of Influenceable calls me and says, hey, man, could you take that down? Could you take that down? We don't, everyone's getting attacked over here at Influenceable. Could you stop attacking us? Could you stop calling us out?
Wow.
Yeah. Says, we want peace. We don't want you to attack us anymore. The one guy that tweeted the link out, his name is Ben Geller, something like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you know? New York Jew.
Oh.
And you know what else?
What?
He's involved in allegedly some pretty sick shit, because I know people in New York, and he's in the DMs of a lot of teenage boys in the conservative movement on Instagram.
Shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Go figure. So, like, gotcha, bitch. It's amazing. Like, here I am. I'm a guy that does a show. I talk about this stuff. We people say I make a lot of sense on these issues, or even if we disagree, say, okay, you see where I'm coming from. But I get involved in these situations where it's like this French guy's giving me money and killing himself, and then the DOJ comes after me. Okay, pay a lawyer $100,000, get that solved. Then they're writing hit pieces about me, unravel that, and Tucker's behind it with Max Blumenthal. They're putting up $100,000 to get people to promote it. People take the bait, push the hashtag. He's in the DMs of these guys in high school that I know and Instagram. And it's like, so, I mean, this shit goes deep.
Yo.
And there's layers. It's like I started it out. It's layers. I mean, first they come at you on Twitter, and then if you don't stop, eventually they just keep ratcheting it up until you get to convoluted stuff like this.
Damn.
Wow, man. Bro, there's a targeted attack. I mean, bro, we said it. You're like the most canceled guy, and I'm not surprised at all these fucking powers that be. I'm just really disappointed. Like Tucker Carlson, man. I thought he was like the last real one left over there at Fox, man. Like,
this
what
is
the fuck?
the beginning of how people get targeted, and it's funny because this happened to Nate now, but it's happened to anybody. So it's just like this is the beginning of what happens when you become a target.
Damn, bro. Like, why? Like, okay, because here's the thing, and let's go back a little bit, right? Because the whole situation, right? And Kanye reinvigorated the JQ, right? He goes on Drink Champs, right? And he mentions that he says the Jews run the media, they run Hollywood. etc. Right? Yeah. Obviously, Drink Champs freaks out, right? I think they cut that episode if I'm not mistaken, right? They went wild, right?
I think
they film it here in Miami, don't they?
Noriega took it down.
Yeah.
And they had to explain to everybody why it took it down.
Yeah.
And did he put it back up or no? Or just like a clip or edit?
He might have. He definitely took that part out if they did.
Yeah.
They freaked out. I know they got terrified when he said that shit.
And I'm like, yo, Nori, you're supposed to be the guy that's interviews everybody. Why you got to cut out Kanye? He's an icon. But once again.
Yeah. You talk about that shit.
In the media.
Yeah. So he says that, and then they cut it, right? They freak out.
Yeah.
Then, after the fact, I know that you partnered up with him, but they're trying to pin Kanye West's statements that you're the one that were like the master puppeteer or whatever. But if I'm not mistaken, you came on the campaign after he already made these comments, right?
Yeah, that was after DEFCON 3. That was after Drink Champs. That was after all of it. But
they're crazy.
They even did a BBC documentary. There was some BBC journalist ambushed me out there in LA because I went to go visit one of the properties.
The BBC.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know how much bullshit they are with the Andrew situation.
Exactly, yeah. And they come out and their angle, they're doing an interview saying, you're exploiting Ye, you're putting these ideas in his head, you're the one that's behind all this. And so they're trying to set me up as like, yeah. And here's why. Because a guy like Ye cannot be an anti-Semite for their frame. Okay. He's too much of a genius. He is too successful. He is too prominent. So when they see a guy like Ye go out there and say, I love Hitler, DEFCON 3, all this kind of stuff, it's a much easier sell for them to say, well, he's unwell. It's this white supremacist that put those ideas there. You know, it's this obscure other political guy that you're not heard of. Exactly. The patsy. And they can say about Ye, well, he's really unwell. You know, well, he needs to get on his meds or apologize or whatever. And then they make me the fall guy. And that's how they solve the dilemma of one of the richest, most intelligent, most influential people in the world today saying, it's the Jews, you know, and I love Hitler. So, but this is how they operate. And I was never subjected to that level of subterfuge, you know, because I have been subjected to the censorship and the debanking and the legal persecution and so on.
All right, guys, I hate to do this because I know we've still got some time left in this podcast, but I'm starting to nod off. I'm not even processing what's being said anymore, so I need to go to bed. But you know what? I'll give you some final thoughts to this. Overall, this was significantly less controversial than I thought it would be, given all the hullabaloo that I heard, both about Fresh and Fit podcast, which I'm sure they're different in other episodes, and they're like, I'm sure it's different, whatever. Also, just like Nick Fuentes isn't really saying anything that is okay. He said some really bad things. I'm not going to suggest that I agree with everything he said, but like it's kind of, you know, typical. This isn't like, I think that his stories have actually been extremely interesting tonight. Like I liked hearing about what that dinner with Trump was like at Mar-a-Lago. I hadn't heard that before. I liked hearing about, you know, his experience on the no-fly list because that's some bullshit. I liked learning that Tucker Carlson was involved in some sort of hit piece on him because, well, I don't like Nick Fuentes and I don't feel sorry for him. I also don't think that it's a good use of time, or like why is that something that we're focusing on? Given the state of the world, why is that something that we're focusing on? I think that he makes a very good point about why can't we talk about these things? I mean, Nick Fuentes isn't actually being hateful in this. He's really not. He's saying things I really disagree with, but he's not, you know, saying people should die or any of these things. He's not calling for harm to other people. He's literally just expressing an opinion. And it's fine to disagree with that opinion. It's fine to think that that opinion makes him a shitty person. But, like, he should be allowed to express the opinion. I don't think anyone in the audience that was watching tonight was harmed. Even if you vehemently disagree, guess what? You made it. You're still alive. It's okay. The mean Nick Fuentes won't be able to hurt you anymore. I mean, does anyone feel, even if you, because I know there are people watching who disagree with what he's saying, like, does anyone feel as though they've been irrevocably harmed by hearing a shitty opinion that you disagree with? I don't think anyone's been harmed tonight. He hasn't called for violence. There's no sign of any sort of breaking of the non-aggression principle, which I know is not his thing, but like, I wish it had been more controversial. I wish I had more to say about it. I really do. But now it's almost 3 a.m. and I'm going to go to bed, guys. But thank you for hanging out with me. I do not plan on streaming tomorrow, but I will be back on Sunday at 5 p.m. And I think I'm going to have some clips tomorrow going up as well. So you can be on the lookout for that. If you are new to me, I hope you'll consider sticking around for a while and maybe watching some of the socialism content, some of the woke content. My specialty is I break down the woke ideology and I explain it in plain English. And I do want to thank the groypers that came out tonight because you guys behaved yourself. That was really all I asked for. I've had many run-ins with the groypers before when we've been streaming Nick Fuentes, and really all I ask for is don't come in insulting people. Don't be a dick. Don't be shit posting in my chat. Y'all managed to hang in there. I get the occasional Nick is awesome. There was the occasional question about the Jews, which I readily ignored, but I do appreciate the groypers being on their best behavior tonight. I feel like, we've made some progress with at least some sign of like uneasy truce relations. Just don't come in my chat shit posting. That's all I ask. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you on Monday at 5 p.m. And I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And yeah, we'll see you soon, guys. Bye.